Hello, everyone. Good evening. This is Cyber Power of Tigray. We have our special guest from the East Coast, um, Mr. Mesfin from the Virginia area, and we have Mr. Dade from the DC area. We have Mengestab from San Diego, California, and tonight we'll be discussing about the ongoing crisis in Tigray. Of course, the crisis is spilled into the rest of the region in the Horn of Africa. Um, Gentlemen, thank you. I know we had one more guest that was unable to make, unfortunately, Fadila, who's been in the show several times. She's one of our young, distinguished lady who has been outspoken and protesting throughout. And we are going to miss her tonight, but I'm sure we'll have her back. And I appreciate you guys joining me. And if I could start with Mr. Dade, please introduce yourself to our audience, and we'll go around with everyone else. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for having me. My name is Gazetenya. It's only mine that's written in Guz.
It's okay.
I have been just a journalist for the best part of my adult life. I've been covering all events in our region. I'm a public policy student, and I have been an editor of the Discourse. That was my last job. Discourse is very well-known journal that was written in Ethiopia, and I was the editor-in-chief of that publication. And then here I am. It's enough for.
Welcome and thank you. And we'll jump into our guest, Mr. Mesfin. You've been at the show already, but please introduce to any of our new audience, and we'll go to you, Mengestab, after that.
My name is Mesfin Ayano. I live in Virginia. I have been in political activity, both as an observer of politics, community organizer for the past 50 years. And now I am one of the founders of SJTE, and previously one of the founders of UTNA, and founder of TDA. And I, for the past until the coming of Abiy, I went back to Ethiopia, and I lived there for about 10 years as an engineering consultant.
Thank you, Mengestab. I know you've been here as well. Please introduce yourself to our audience, and we'll go right to the discussion.
Hello, Mike. Thank you. How's the audio? Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
You good? Yep.
Okay. Well, my name is Mengestab Araya. Pretty hard to follow with that last introduction, but I can say I'm related to Mesfin, so that works in my favor. But I'm Mengestab Araya. I'm from San Diego. Born in Sudan. Came to America when I was 2 years old. I graduated in general chemistry. I only just started following the politics, but I've always been just a diehard Tigray and Wayane for life. And even as the politics change, I think first and foremost being Wayane is identity, and then second, with the new parties arising, I think I would side more with Tigray Independence Party, with Demnatina Tigray. But as far as my identity, the true Tigray Wayane. That's all you need to know about me.
You said it so well. That's why I brought this out today for the first time, because I was so happy when Dade and Mesfin agreed to come to the show. Both of you may not recognize, but the work that you have done and you continue to do means everything to many of us.
Thank you.
Including like someone like Mengestab who say he does not follow politics. I had the young lady tonight. So the idea was not to put you guys at a higher, like age-wise, different level, but to share your experiences, but also your ability to educate and teach us the process, what Tigray means and what Tigray has done for Ethiopia. So this, you guys see me. So when I left Tigray, I was a little kid. I won't say the town so that I can hopefully save some of my family who are stuck in the midst of the war. But this is from Tagadala, meaning like a soldier. One of my brother who was a fighter, and I was a child. He had to make sure during the Derg era, he had to hand me one of his shugomane, Khrushchev, excuse me, not shugomane. I'm mixing that. To travel. So this has traveled through the crisis as a refugee in Sudan and immigrant in this country, growing up in Fresno, California, and living here in Oregon for the past 21 years. It has never came out until today. And so what Mengestab say, that was not my plan. I had no idea you guys actually were related. So the plan was to bring a couple youngsters and to bring you guys with a lot of experience so that we can show the world that we collaborate and work together, and we are peace-loving, peacemaking Tagaru in the diaspora as well as at home. So with that, before I go to my questions, Mr. Mesfin, you've returned back home for 10 years. What was it like when during the 10-year in Ethiopia, particularly in Tigray, so that we can understand what's going on today, what led to the war? Obviously, both of you have by far the most experience and knowledge, politic, economic, and everything that we need to know about Tigray and the rest of Ethiopia, and of course the Horn of Africa.
Well, let me first say that I met Dade in Ethiopia, and it was we met on a very casual environment, but we remained in contact, and we were also instrumental in establishing a civic society, Tegezo Civic Society, and he was a very important instrument, and provided the intellectual capacity for the civic society. So that incidental meeting has meant it's quite a bit for me. So it's good to see him again. I see him all the time, but it's also to share this. Secondly, I also want to say, I like the setting here, and I wish the other person was also here. But for two reasons I like it. One is because it's not just a one-way transmission of an information and an experience, but both ways. And we learned from the young ones even more so than we can actually impart. So I'm glad you are creating such an interaction for us, and thank you for you, Mike.
Of course, thank you.
Let me get back to the what you have asked me. The 10 years. First of all, I went back to Ethiopia because I wanted to, for the little time that I thought I had, because I was getting older anyway. So is to share my experiences with the field and the experience that I've had here. I was. I don't know if you remember, there was a major earthquake in Haiti. And because of that, there was in the engineering circle there was a post-disaster assessment of what really happened. Was it a failure of? Was this just a natural calamity, or was it a man-made problem, and so forth? So at the end, many engineers, the consensus was that actually it was an engineering disaster rather than a human disaster. I mean, a natural calamity, because the way the buildings were built contributed to the disaster that could have been alleviated if these buildings were constructed in a manner that required them to be safe. And in studying that, I was really struck by the fact that what the construction in Haiti and the construction practices in Ethiopia was identical. So I was really extremely alarmed by the fact that a small disaster, a small tremor, especially in Addis Ababa, where the earthquake fault line is within Addis, and it's closer in proximity as well, that even if a small tremor was to take place, then it will be a human calamity. And at the end of the day, the government would be responsible for not having the safety in place. Just to give you in perspective, when Haiti, right after the earthquakes in Haiti, similar earthquake happened in Argentina. The Haiti was on 7.2 on a Richter scale, as opposed to 8 on a Richter scale, meaning the Argentina earthquake was 1,000 times greater, and yet less than 1,000 people were killed. In Haiti, over 200,000 people were killed, 300,000 people were injured, over 1 million people were homeless. So, and I really felt an extreme fear that something as small if that can happen there. So my going there was partly is to alarm at least the authorities of the impending danger. And then perhaps if we cannot retrofit what we have, is really change the way we design and we construct our buildings. But to my surprise, very little attention was given to that alarm. But we kept on, and we made some inroads. Some codes were established. For instance, buildings in Addis didn't have handicap ramps. At least a semblance of that was taking place later on, as a result of this sort of public advocacy. So that was the experience. But once I went there, I was also alarmed by the level of negative discourse that was taking place in the country, particularly the anti-Tigrayan sentiments that were developing in Addis and around the Addis. And that was the reason why we established eventually we established the civic society. It's called the Tagizo. That Tagizo means in Ge'ez actually advocacy. And the alarm was that unless we do something about it, there is going to be a serious problem that's going to take place. Unfortunately, we weren't able to avoid that either, because by the time we were able to people to pay attention, the situation was getting out of hand.
Which I'm going to come right back to that question. Thank you so much for the very well explanation, which is why we brought you guys in. We lost Mengestab, but we're trying to get him back on. But in the meantime, so after that, Mr. Dade. So I'm going to have you jump right in. But you know what? Our audience would like to know what your name means, because they say it is very unique, and I'm going to post that. So this is one of our guests just is asking. I don't know if you can see the screen, but if you could please. By the way, I struggle a little bit to make sure that I pronounce it correctly. So initially, people have announced it like a little bit differently, but please, we'll start with that. I don't want to make you feel A little bit shy here, but we would love to know the uniqueness that you have, and then I'll let you jump in into the conversation.
All right. Thanks. I've never been asked about my name, and but this name has got me into so many troubles. You know, you see the Amharic. I'm glad you. Now glad that you put it in good. It just starts with the and ends with the, and it looks like the other alphabet in good. And an Amharic speaker used to call me Tsatsa, which means the little auntie, just because he didn't know what that would mean. It didn't look like the same. And there are people also who call me here Dade because there's a county in Florida that's spelled the same way like mine. But I'm so alive. What does it mean? I think it's in a very local dialect, sort of. It's not a word, Tigray wide spoken, well-known word, but it means winner. It is spoken in the southern part of Tigray, in the Raya Azo area. I am particularly in the housing area. I mean, I was born and raised there in the Hazawairu area, where Mengestab was referring to, came from. But I have carried that name. I don't know how it came to me. It's just parents might have heard it somewhere and then put it on me. It's a very short, very handy, and I'm okay. We never quarreled to each other.
So now we all know the definition. So I have some questions that I want to make sure that we have enough time to cover. But Mr. Dade, thank you so much. So this is not yet the question that I'm going to ask, but I'm going to lump it in there. How was it for you to meet Mr. Mesfin in Tigray in Ethiopia when he met you there?
Yeah, we met in Bishoftu at Kurifta. I think we were just we crossed paths. We went there for different reasons, and I've seen him for the first time in a restaurant, and I might have asked him to pass me the salt or so. For the first time I met him, and then I think a common friend might have mentioned my name to him, and he invited me to join him in the effort he was trying to set up this civic organization in Addis, and we gathered there too. I don't know if I was as much of help to as expected, but that was a nice gathering. There was a lot of I remember that talk that sort of what we are experiencing now was already being foreseen by others there. And there were very intellectual people who were worried. Mesfin's effort was one that this kind of thing can come, and then there has to be a sort of mechanisms of mitigating or addressing that. So that's where we met, and then fate has brought us here, and then he reached me, and we're together here trying to do something for our people.
Yeah, and that's that's the lovely part is like when so I actually met both of you guys via Zoom shortly after the war started. We hosted the West Coast Task Force meeting. And it was so humbling for you guys not only to show up, but to pass on, your contact information and everything else. And the fact that we can just dial the number and just reach out to you guys, for help or counsel, whatever it is, So I do want to say I greatly appreciate you guys, the work that you're doing. That we as Tagaro, I have never seen unity. So to the audience, I want to make it clear. The unity that we have seen in Tagaro internationally, in the diaspora here in the United States, I just could not be any more proud than any other time in my lifetime. So thank you so much. So Mengestab, as a young man from California. He's heartbroken. So this question is for you, Mr. Dade. Uh, he's reached out to me. We've been in touch, obviously, and he's even say, "I wish I can be back home to rise up and fight for my people with my people." And that is just one, but there is hundreds of thousands of Tagar in the diaspora. They feel angry, frustrated, they feel unheard from the world community. We have tremendous crisis and genocide, women being raped, the displacement being disregarded as just somehow they're material, not humans. But my question for you is, when young Tagaro looks up to you, to Mr. Mesfin, and the rest of our Tagaro brothers and sisters who have served Tigray, who you as a journalist understand more than anyone else what it is to be writing stories, reporting stories on heinous crimes. What do you tell the young people like this young man when they feel helpless that they can't even go back to help their people, our people?
Yeah, yes. This is the hardest feeling each one of them are passing through. The crimes that are being committed against our people, I couldn't even find a parallel story in books, let alone to to express them happening next in your own land, within among your own people, and by the people who looks like you, like your own people, and this is something that has to be studied and defined and deciphered by anthropologists and all the human people who can pick human brains, how they operate, how they work, how people can just turn into a monster right before your eyes. Some of the people are might have been sitting next to us when we were in Addis or somewhere in different situations, and then these are the people who are doing this. And it seems like these are not random activities. They're all over. It just seems to be a policy-driven, enhanced atrocity. And then the whole world is acting deaf on all of it. And then I can only understand young people like Mengestab, because I myself are feeling the same thing, frustrated and a feeling to really go away, pick something, and then face your enemy, and then kill him or die in the process. It wouldn't matter. That's the kind of feeling, anger, we all are experiencing and harboring. Saying that, this has been, I think, a human experience of pain at times. I think it happened also. We sometimes tend to be forgetful. Even in Tigray, I was reading a page of Dr. Fasas writing during Miniri. Just almost a deja vu. Something like this happened then. And it's written in the book. It's passed over to us. It's just we fail to really take it as a lesson. So it happens in some level, although the way it's happening now is very dramatic, very intense, and it has no reason. Maybe things develop to some level of cruelty after some actions led to some other actions, but all of a sudden, like this, or just today, we heard General Sarkan's wife and her kids were taken to prison just because Sarkan was not around, and just for that reason. It's like whatever Sarkan is being suspected by these jailers is like transferable to the kids through DNA. Can you believe that at this time it's just happening? And Hayalum's kid was pulled out of his living house, and then it was like a couple of or 3 days ago that they told us they killed her mother in the battlefront. Can this happen and really people live through that? So the anger is understandable, and I know how it feels. And this is happening to people, to the most honorable, decent, humble people, selfless people we have ever known on earth, walking on earth. Tigray people, they never wronged anyone in any part of the history. These are very patriotic people, hardworking, and truth-loving. And this is happening to them for being just themselves, and we know why this is happening to that level. Although it has to be studied again and again, so that we now have the lasting lesson. But it's happening because they don't want us to be ourselves, to be Tigrayans. It's just a question of either you lose your identity or you lose your life. And in times such as this, what is needed to be done is we have to transfer our anger to what we can do to help.
Which is action, which I think, which
is the action. That's right. So there are things that we can do, I'm sure. There are things we can say. There are things we can do. Not the things that we wanted to do, but the things that are possibly we can do where we are now. So I'm just imagining through Mengestab that there are a lot of young people, older people who feel helpless to do something, but they can do. There are a lot of things that can be done from here. Spreading the story is one thing. There are resources that can be mobilized here: writing, making friends, networking, telling the story to everyone, whoever has the curiosity and interest to hear, and taking it and then making it alive, and then organizing ourselves, being efficient as a society. That's one thing what we lacked is, I think, we don't feel like a minority, vulnerable people, and vulnerable people like us, we have seen it now, and we are a minority. We cannot, this minority has different definitions, but numerically we are a minority. I don't think we're a minority in terms of contributions and participation in the main narrative of the nation. But so numerically we are being undermined now because of the number, and then we have to live like one. We have to really put our lives into a very purposeful mission, like vulnerable people. So I want Mengestab to also take an immense pride in himself, in society, and in the things that are being done. We will survive it. We have been surviving a lot of challenges, and now because we have also a very conscious generation, very mobilized, like you were saying, the solidarity you're seeing, the unity you're seeing will help us survive this one too. So it's a very painful. Thank you.
So while you talk about the minority, and before Mengestab jumps into the discussion, I want to share with you guys a screen that, as Tagaro minority in the country, it is shocking to me, and it should be shocking to the world. The fist with the hand Tigray is one pocket or one area in Ethiopia. Historically, in every colonialism, in every war that fought in Ethiopia, in fact, Abiy Ahmed about 2+ years ago. He came to Mekelle. He spoke in Tigray now for about 15 minutes. In his speech to the Tigray people, he said, Tigray is everything, basically. And he said it, Ethiopia without Tigray is a vehicle without motor. So he himself, obviously we know he lies just like the weather changes daily in Addis Ababa, with all due respect. But this is for one state with roughly 6.5, maybe 7 million people. We don't know the exact number. I personally don't. You have the Amhara militia. You have the Ethiopian Defense Forces. You have the regional forces. The list goes on and on. Eritrea, as a country, had invaded Tigray, which, under any circumstances, that would be considered like a treason. We have a person who was not elected for the people, by the people, refused to hold an election last May, which, had election been held in Ethiopia, we know that the winner of an election would have become a prime minister October of that same year in 2020. That didn't happen. The Tigray regional government, within the constitution in Ethiopia, upheld the constitution. By doing so, held a regional election. So to the audience to understand, Tigray has never asked for secession from Ethiopia. What it did, in fact, is it said to the federal system and the federal government at that time that we are going to step aside. We are going to actually govern our region, our people. We're going to work with our people, and we're going to allow you lead the federal system that you've been complaining about, that we, the Tigrayans, been in leadership, even though it has the Ethiopian Defense Forces was formed because of the Tigray, the TPLF that was formed from Tigray People Liberation Front to EPRDF. Then it formed a very successful national military. Then we knew at the beginning of November in 2020, they disarmed every ethnic Tigrayan that was part of the military in Ethiopia, that served Ethiopia proudly, that bled for Ethiopia. So, and I am really sickening by the Amhara, and I keep pointing out the Amhara because they are the puppets of Abiy Ahmed. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but today the Oromos organized in their region food assistance and brought it to Mekelle and distributed it to the folks, to the Tigray people in Mekelle. And they say, while we know in Oromia there are crises of our own, we understand that the crisis today, the worst crisis, humanitarian crisis, is in Tigray. That is why the Oromo people, farmers, business owners got together, raised enough money to buy food and deliver it to the Tigray people. To me, that's commendable. So the Amharas, on the other hand, are celebrating the death of our people. And these are estimated numbers in most of the areas in Tigray that people have been massacred. The people who have been massacred, are they less value as humans? Why is it that when Kosovo was at war in 1997, I remember I was in high school, the United States, the EU took military action and saved everybody. And we are watching and witnessing Hitler in the 19th century, but Hitler-like in the 21st century. And yet the world remains silent. Mengestab, I apologize that you've been very patiently silent. I think you are back connected now, so if you can hear me, please feel free to comment. I'm showing the screen, obviously, showing the details of some of the, the cities and areas by the various troops that have been massacred in Tigray. As recent as like within the last 3-4 days, we had about 750 civilians pulled out of Aksum Church and massacred. Over 700 women just in Megala City have reported being raped. That includes young girls, pregnant women, humiliating our people in Tigray. That is why, Mr. Dade, like you described well, but that is why we are frustrated, we are angry, we feel like helpless, and why we are publicly speaking, and sometimes speaking with anger because we are beyond angry. We are getting sick and tired of. So, Mengestab, if you can hear me, please go ahead and jump in.
Thank you, Mike. And just going back to what Dade was saying, absolutely, it's hard to explain what's going on because there's no precedent. You can't go back in history and say, um, what's going on now, uh, makes sense because as we saw in history, this country did so and so to these people. You literally can't in this situation. It's like America attacking California with the help of Mexico on the southern border, and it's going backwards because I don't know if Abiy Ahmed has any plans on ruling Tigray. If he wants to govern Tigray, you can't bomb it. You can't uh, send the economy 50 years back because whatever you do to Tigray collectively will hurt Ethiopia and to a greater magnitude than hurting all the other regions in the Ethiopia because Tigray, as everyone knows, whether they want to admit it or not, contributed so much to current day Ethiopia in terms of economy and political structure, the government. So you just can't understand what Abiy Ahmed is really trying to do here. And if you want to look at it from the perspective of dictatorship rule, then it's pretty clear because he's thrown out the constitution, um, and he thinks that the only way he can rule is through dictatorial rule, and he's collaborating with Isaias, and Isaias Afewerki is by far the best example of dictatorship rule of just the greatest human rights abuser in our last couple of decades, and since '91, he's been the only leader president of Eritrea. So that's he's going in on 30 years of keeping Eritrea in the dark. So um, yeah, it's just it doesn't make sense. You can't go back in history and understand what's happening today. Um, you could go back to the past regimes in Ethiopia and say, hey, Haile Selassie bombed his own people, Dade bombed Tigray as well, and then it's being repeated for a third time in history. Um, but yeah, it's very hard to explain this the self-infliction Ethiopia is causing, and just standing by and watching this one person dismantle what Ethiopia has been the last 35 years is also a reason why Tigray can't remain in Ethiopia because it shouldn't have gone to this point. If we were living in a country of one nation, then we would have put a stop to this earlier. Our fellow Ethiopian brothers and sisters would have stood up. But as you can see in Addis Ababa, there's no demonstrations. Um, there's no there's no opposition to what Abiy Ahmed is doing, and um, it's not like Eritrea where you can't speak up and there's no internet. There's actually opportunity in Addis Ababa to to start a reform, start a protest. So I just don't understand how the lives, the people, the day-to-day lives are just continuing as if nothing's happening in Addis Ababa. So yeah, I really don't understand. I don't think Abiy Ahmed ever wanted to rule Tigray and rule Ethiopia democratically. I think from the get-go he was uh, planning this type of leadership role in Ethiopia. But yeah, as far as trying to understand what's going on, we have you saw the diagram that you pulled up. We have summarized it so beautifully with charts and documentations of all the atrocities and the body count in different cities, the destruction, everything for the whole world to witness and see. So there's plenty for a journalist, this problem is like there's too much to go off of. There's too much. It'd be so easy to write articles on top of articles about what's going on. The problem is that there hasn't been any action. Many people have spoken up, but there hasn't been any real action towards something that opens access in Tigray. And so that's what I want to say in response to that.
Thank you. So I want to be mindful of time, and I'm going to avoid from cutting you guys off, but I would like a shorter version of an answer to a specific question that I have to each one of you, if that's all right. So first, I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Mesfin. Briefly, can you tell the audience what was the reason of the war with Tigray?
You asked me to be short, and then you have me a very difficult question to answer in a short period. But here, just to give you as a background, I think the genesis of the current crisis begins in 1991. Even though there are historic reasons for this, but mainly it's in 1991, and that is because at the cost of 60,000 of our people being killed, over 100,000 of our people, young people at that, have been handicapped. We probably bear the lion's share of responsibilities and sacrifices to bring about one of the most dictatorial regime in Africa. And after having done that, when in a typical scenario, the winner takes all. Our leaders that you have seen today and yesterday being paraded and or being made to be the I'm sorry to say this, but these are the people that paid their lives and that paid their sacrifices to make things better, to elevate a country that has been destitute on the verge of collapse. And instead of this efforts being lauded, the losers in the war, and typically, especially the elite, and in particular the Amara elite, who saw themselves as having lost the power and the leverage of ruling the country, were very unhappy about what the new Ethiopia. And this new Ethiopia was brought in by the Tigrayans by and large, even though there was a participation of others as well. But like I said, I think the lion's share of that responsibility and that sacrifice was paid by the people of Tigray. And after that, the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, TPLF, is probably the singular organization that has understood the fundamental contradictions of the country, and that is the nations and nationalities, the problems of nations and nationalities, and the disparities that has been in place for hundreds of years, and a country where some were the stepchild, and some were on the periphery, some were second-class citizens, many people didn't even know about. So having understood in order to bring about a peaceful and developing country, that the problems need to be addressed, and the reason and the way to address it was essentially through the empowerment of those nations and nationalities, and bring about a collective will, and the will to live together. And to live together was under a contract, so to speak, uh, of the constitution and the federal establishment. So the crisis of today begins at that point. And since then, even though the country has been uh, undergoing enormous economic and social and economic and political transformations, uh, the they remained to be uh, uh, adversaries to the system. They were unhappy with the federal system. They wanted the unitary state to be brought back, and they fought hard. And they, in the course of the preoccupation to develop this country, perhaps mistakes were made, and the mistakes were probably not having seen the strength, the potential strength of the people that are bent to destroying what was brought about. The country was probably had seen the securest, the safest in its history. Sustained peace was in Ethiopia for close to 26, 27 years, and that hasn't happened in Ethiopia in many years.
Sure. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there for a second. So we know the security system, we know the economy system in Ethiopia has been powerful within the leadership that was formed under democratic process, that they have the right to elect a prime minister every 5 years. I'm still struggling to understand Abiy Ahmed, when Desan Hadamariam resigned, he took an oath, he rose his hand, and he said that he would uphold the Constitution. He did not. And I guess for the audience, what I'm trying to understand, for the young people around the world who have no clue about the politics of Ethiopia, in short, I'm trying to understand, why did Abiy Ahmed declare war against Tigray and brought all militias from all over Ethiopia and Eritrea? What was the reason behind it?
Well, primarily because of his desire to be the center of power. He had his dictatorial proclivities. He had the desire. He never had the commitment that is required to be a democratic leader. He did not understand the complexity of the country. He was essentially power-driven, and the way you know that is that even the people that are closest to him, he had sacrificed. So his singular interest was to be this leader that will frame this country in his own image or in his own thinking. So that is the driving force of Abiy, and the reason he had to wage war against the people of Tigray is that the people of Tigray and its government and its party have consistently stood for the upholding of the constitution, upholding the protection of the federal establishment, and because those are the two fundamental institutions that we had paid sacrifice for, and they had resisted. And the only probably a place where there is a commitment to even pay sacrifices to uphold this was Tigray. So he saw Tigray as an impediment to achieving his his power,
Can I
the power that he desired.
can I step in and ask a
So
question?
that is primarily what drove to this, and there are of course other complex issues, but mainly it's a drive to achieve what had desire. In fact, he had made it clear that he wanted to be a king. That his mother has told him that he was going to be a king. So he really wanted to crystallize that idea.
I think Mengestab, you want to jump
Mr.
in. Go
Mesfin,
ahead.
can
I'm going to give you a minute, and then I'm going to jump into my question to Mr. Dade, because I want to make sure that I have a list of questions that I want to get to. I want to respect his time, but go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have a question for Mr. Mesfin. In addition to Abiy Ahmed wanting power and and did not want to share and work closely with TPLF being a major influence in Ethiopian politics and economy. Do you think, in addition to that, that there's this central philosophy within Amhara and the Ethiopian Empire that works to oppress the Tagaros and goes against what Tagaros like? If Tagaros get stronger and they become a strong, not independent, but independent within Ethiopia. Do you think that there was a central philosophy in the Ethiopian Empire, whether it's within Amhara, to always oppress and take away from Tigray, in addition to Abiy Ahmed's, thirst for power?
Well, I mean, historically, I think Dada probably can speak better on this area. Historically, there is the elite, the Amhara elite, had always seen the Tigray as a resistance to their desires to control the country, and without probably diminishing the role of Tigray and its people, that could not be achieved. So that has been always the motivating factors to begin with. But more than that, there was a convergence of interest between Abiy's desire to be the king, and of course the desire of the elite, the Amhara elite, to perhaps undermine the constitution and undermine the federal system, because they believed the unitary state will be bringing back the historic role of the Amhara elite. Abiy, in this political environment, Abiy's interest was just a shifting of allegiance. If it serves his purpose to be aligned with the Oromos, he will go. He will probably see the Oromos as his natural social base. But if it's helped him to when that social base was taken away from him because of the people realized for what he is, and then he shifts his alliance, so to speak, with the
Is that why they call him Mesrefet?
Huh?
Is that why they call him Mesrefet?
Yeah, that's why it's
that is part of it. So
yes.
I am
now I understand that today.
So there is a convergence, a convergence of interest that has brought this forces. So Abiy thinks he can use the Amharas and the Oromos to achieve his desire.
Hang on, Mengestab, sorry. I have to, sorry. I have a list of questions I need to get through. Hang on one second. I'm going to have Dade jump in because
I know, just this is one quick question.
Hold on. No.
Mike, please.
We have to be respectful of their time. Hold on, Mengestab. I got to get Dade has been patiently waiting for too long, so I got to get everybody in the rotation here. Sorry. So I apologize, but I'll get you
this question. Can I ask Dade this question?
hold on. We have to. Okay, so I have to moderate this in a fair way. So, Mr. Dade,
Yes.
you are welcome to jump in and some of that question that Mengestab have. But my specific question for you, and I apologize, I'm cutting you guys off, but we have to. I realize time wise, I have list of questions I need to get through. Um, was was it really the intention to go after 64 Tigray leadership when Abiy Ahmed betrayed the people of Tigray, the very people who he slept with and fighting as a soldier when Eritrea and Ethiopia fought 20 years ago, when he worked his way up to leadership within the APRDF. And clearly, my recollection was 2.5 years ago, he wasn't even eligible to become prime minister, but he had to maneuver his way up to the Oromo chairman. Um, my root and my gut tells me this guy wasn't about serving Ethiopia. It wasn't about serving the oath that he took. It was poorly motivated that whatever, at any cost, that the Tigray leadership, what Mr. Mesfin mentioned, were focused on, one, leaving the federal system leadership at his place to run the country, at the same time to uphold the Constitution by remaining at the regional level, which the rest of Ethiopia have every right to do so. My question for you again is, that's my opinion, but was it really to round up 64 people in the leadership in Tigray, or was there more to it? And if you could be mindful of the time also, I apologize, but if you can answer that question for me to the audience, and then you could sort of talk about what Mengestab was talking about, and then I'll let Mengestab jump in with his question, and then he can comment as well.
No,
Thank you.
no, that's not. That was not the whole purpose. It was not even the purpose. And which I think some of them have just stopped long ago believing what he says. We don't see any meaning in his words. He double talks. He has double faces, and he never meant what he said. He once said in front of me, I was attending a gathering he was addressing, that when someone was trying to badmouth the TPLF leadership, he came into their defense and he said, "These are the guys who had the tanks and the banks in their hands, and they heed to the half-page letters I give them, signed and sealed, and then they're very democratic guys. If had they not been democratic, they wouldn't have left when they can deploy forces against anyone who stands on their way." That's what he said. But he's saying different things at different times, depending on what his singular focus is on the power. So he just says that to simply sell it to the other world, like he's doing. Can you believe it? He calls it a law enforcement operation. What kind of law enforcement operation while you are just destroying? How many people did? Even the map was your map was very conservative. I was counting, and I had my own count, and it came to over 15,000 casualties who were murdered point blank, not the war casualties. Just people who were just murdered at a close range, civilians in Tigray after in this a bit short, longer than 70 days. So there's never been anything like after few people who needs to bring them to court. He is destroying the whole region. He's after the heritage. He's after the moral of the people. Towns are all destroyed. What all this do have anything to do with those 64? He won't stop, even if he gives them in a silver plate. He presents them. He will still find a way and do what he's doing. So I think I want to just one line to what Mesfin was trying to say. There are just different riders with him. Like they see him as a Trojan horse. He's doing focus on what somehow he entered a territory he may planned or unplanned, and he's continuing with that. But there are forces behind him that have a bigger long-term plan, like the Eritrean forces. He wants to. He didn't have qualms saying. He just didn't want only to finish the TPLF, also to wipe out all their legacies. What does it tell you? All what he's doing now, just you were telling us, he was killing, slaughtering all the animals on their way. What does it mean? Taking everything, all the artifacts from these the different places, all that things that are cherished in Tigray and that make Tigray Tigray. They're just going after them. The Amhara forces. What do they need? They just want there is a psychological mindset there that they are entitled to rule Ethiopia the way they like for centuries, and they think the Tigrayans are on their way, and they have been very angry about the disruptions Tigrayans have been causing, and they don't respect the rest of the peoples, and they think so they have to go after the. So this is kind of an overkill. They think that Tigray is strong, and it can't be subdued with a limited amount of force. That's why they are bringing everything and then doing what they are doing now. I went again long. Okay, sorry.
No, you do great. I know Mengestab is eager to ask a question, but I'm going to stay with you for 1 second. You talked about demoralizing the people, and you mentioned also the civilian death. Of course, in addition to, we have 4.6 million estimated in emergency need of food. That's when I ask you the question about whether or not it's worth to go to war if you after 64 people in leadership, and yet you are putting people, millions, not thousands, but millions of people at risk, tens of thousands displaced abroad. In Addis Ababa alone, we know that over 50,000 ethnic Tigrayan has been rounded up. As we speak today, you could not go a quarter of a mile in Addis Ababa at nighttime without being stopped and searched, literally. So we talk about, I think Mr. Mesfin earlier said, I don't want to take too much time either, but we were talking about the security and safety, how well it was. And I traveled to Ethiopia myself and of course Tigray many times. I mean, I would, a few times I encounter with, regional police or federal police. They were just so well trained, well behaved under the prior leadership. And, when I tell them I was visiting, I mean, they were just so welcoming. And I remember going to Aksum, Mekelle, and Adwa, and throughout, even taking the little bajbars, they call them the little three-wheeler and whatnot. Just you see them, just give them high five and whatnot. Now you're talking about literally, you can't, when it's dawn, you can't get out of your house. My question, however, is, so that's the tragedy of what's happening. A guy who was handed everything that he needs to have on his disposal. Instead, he destroyed a country. He displaced thousands of our people outside the country, millions internally. To me, that's evil act. That is genocide in its making and on our watch. And that is why we're not sitting and silent. That is why, knowing that we, as Tagaru, we know the risk that it puts our people when we go publicly with our name out in the air. But you know what? We cannot hide. So Sabat Naga is one of the founding father of the Tigray People Liberation Fighters. He was not fighting. The guy is almost 90 years old. In America, people at his age go to nursing home. The strength and the will of the people in Tigray, however, he remained at home with his family. When the leadership in Tigray said 72 hours warning to kill 500,000 people of the Mekelle residents, they vacated the city of Mekelle to save the community. And then they go in, arrest him, held him. Some of the word that that's coming out is that he was actually transported to Eritrea and tortured in Eritrea and then returned back to Ethiopia. And then to demoralize the Tigray people domestically and internationally, we saw him arrested and lifted in jets and with all these like guards and whatnot. For the young Tagaro and for the rest of the world to understand, this man and the rest of the folks who he's brag about he's killed them, were not in any position working in Tigray. They were retired military vets. So why isn't he capturing the very people that he was supposed to be after and showing us that he has done so? Why is his 500,000 military, including the military he borrowed from Eritrea, including the drone that he's been using from the United Arab Emirates, has failed him to the point where 500,000 plus troops deployed to Tigray, and they are yet to capture and show us on Ethiopian national television one of the leadership within the Tigray Defense Forces. But yet you pick on the very ill people, the very weak people, the people who have nothing to do with the war. Why is that?
Well, I think one point is you have to understand that this is a war against the people. It's not against his combatant enemies, what he calls, or opponents. It's against the people. So with every shocking, obscene act he's doing, he's wounding every Tigrayan soul and heart. He knows that. He is doing that. He's trying to demoralize everyone. He's destroying the icons. So by doing that, to putting cuff on 90 years old man and all those well-built bodies holding him, his arms, is like he's sending a message that this is what I'm doing to you, and this is coming because unless I do this, you're not going to give in. It's just acknowledging the strength of the Tigrayans, that they will fight the death, they will fight the last. So all this, he's trying to give it a story like, can you believe it? Suhat being the active strategist, military strategist now in Tigray, he's trying also to sell it to his constituency that what is going is not after an old man, but after an active, operative leader who is strategizing the current resistance. He might be the kind of person what you call psychopathic at this level, when because it's like as Ethiopians, like we are still part of Ethiopia. So as Ethiopians, it's like we are all agreed to destroy the whole country, Ethiopia, that we don't want to see it tomorrow. Just everything that's happening is like destroying Ethiopia in agreement of its citizens. That's what Abiy is doing towards its destruction, what the Amhara are doing to their destruction. The Tigrayans are so angry that they don't want to be part of Ethiopia anymore. You don't see this. The people like Sabhat were the connections to Ethiopia, between Tigray and Ethiopia. Now you're going after them, and then you're just making this, destroying the bridge between Tigray and Ethiopia. So what is in Benshangul, in other parts, is like all Ethiopians at one point, for very unknown reason, have agreed to destroy their country from every direction. It just looked like that. Everyone is tearing it apart. It's not like it looks like in the people in Addis and in Amhara are very happy about it. Can you believe that? It's the weirdest story I ever made. But it sounds like that.
Thank you. Mengestab, thank you. I know you've been having little connectivity issues, so you had a question and then you want to jump in the discussion, you're welcome. But I do have a question for you if you can hear me. Okay, so I'm going to try to reconnect him. He's a little screen is further on me right now on him. So, Mr. Mesfin, I'm going to jump into you while I connect him back. What's happening in the region now? Look at what's Sudan. The involvement of Eritrean troops continues to massacre civilians in Tigray. Yet, in the last day or two, there are word of war going on between Sudan and Ethiopia. So what does that do to the Horn of Africa?
Well, people like Dade have been predicting that should war in Tigray takes place, that it has the potential of not only destroying Ethiopia, but also destroying the region. And we're looking at it, and it's right in the process of doing that. You see what happened until the war in Tigray. Sudan wasn't even contemplating about taking back what it says its land. There are because of the war in Tigray, then there is an opportunity for Sudan to capitalize on, and that's what every intelligent person would do, is use the time and space and the opportunity to achieve what you have would not have done otherwise. And because of that, because of the belligerence of the Ethiopia and the bravado, so to speak, there is a potential that Egypt may get involved in this if Ethiopia was to take any steps. So you have, this was predictable. Like I say, I think people like Dade, who have studied the area, and he has a much better background, and they have done a serious study on the area, and they had predicted this is going to happen. This would happen actually, and not only the regional crisis, but also that that Ethiopia will implode. So I think Dade probably can add more to that, and more instructive than I would be, and what the implications are for the region.
Very good. So I want to let Mengestab jump in for a second, then we're going to come back to you, Mr. Dade. And the question is, what is the war in Tigray and the involvement of Sudan, Ethiopia, word of mouth in the last couple of days is going to do to the region as a whole? But Mengestab, are you live? Can you hear us on your audio? Okay.
I can hear you. How's the audio over here? Can you hear me?
You're good. Okay. So I think you had a question. I had to hold you back like earlier. So throw your question at them, and then we still have a topic that we're gonna allow Mr. Dade to answer. But if you want to throw your question first, go ahead.
Sure.
You're still having problem.
We're having audio problem with you. While you can see to reset your audio.
Hear me now?
Yep. There you go.
So you can hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can hear you. Okay.
All right, we're gonna have you reset your access real quick. So, Mr. Dade, I apologize for the question. What's happening in the region is very unfortunate, the least to say. But before you answer that question, I want to comment, because I am so disgusted, like most Tagars are, at this time, at this moment, as far as I'm concerned. Sudan involvement, and if Egypt joins that, that's the least of my worry. That's the least of my concern. And if that wakes up the Amhara, let it be. But with all due respect to both of you guys and to my brother Mengestab, who's in and out, and to the audience who are like listening to it, and when all of us are gone from this planet, to our children and grandchildren who's going to hear this, the blood of our people, the blood of Tigray people, is not going to be ignored. It's not going to be forgotten. So if Sudan goes in and fights with Abiy Ahmed's army, it is not going to be the blood of Tigray people again. We're going to let them go fight it, the war that they don't know how to win. They, let alone to defeat Sudan and Egypt. They sent 500,000 to Tigray. I'm going to keep repeating this. They've gotten nothing besides killing civilians. So, but you know more than anyone else. I'm talking emotionally. What do I know about the history more than you? So go ahead, please, and tell us the history in the region, what's happening.
No, actually, there is a very, very important point in what you just said. If you count the international wars Ethiopia fought against outsiders, there count like 24 or 25, and 23 of them are fought by Tigrayans. Can you believe that? 23 of them.
Yeah.
So for a change, we might let this one go, and it's true. I mean, it's just a human thing. Survival issues override everything else. Our survival is at stake, and it only is logical that you said that. But what's happening in this region? I think a real reconfiguration is coming up, because Ethiopia will not be the same after this kind of war that is launched on Tigray involving Eritrea. It's just a foregone conclusion. It's just a no-brainer stuff to figure out. Do you think that the Amhara were just trying to, the Amhara elite were trying to just bringing it back to the pre-1991 Ethiopia? That was what was in their mind, and what they have missed is that
region.
Yeah, what they have missed is it can never be like that. It will never be. I mean, it's just there is a law of irreducibility in physics. You cannot go over that. It's just something they thought that it's operationalizable to do that. It can be done, but in the process, they're breaking the country apart. And of course,
I think if I can jump in.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Yeah.
If only your
yeah, I'm so sorry. I've been having technical difficulties, but yeah, the poison certainly starts with Amhara leadership and thinking that they can go back to I believe it's called the Zemena Mesfin, something like that. Yes. But if you notice that Isaias in the last 20 years did not dare to attack Tigray, and we are neighbors. He waited for an opportunity in Ethiopia where the regime would commit treason, outright treason, and this is something Tigray never expected. And what you have is a complete sandwiching of Tigray from the north, Eritrea, and then the south, the rest of Ethiopia. So it's very sad. This is something that's taken the entire region backwards. And what this meaningless war, I don't know what kind of outcome they were expecting, because Tigray historically is just not going to be subjugated. And to conspire with Isaias, I mean, Isaias is still living in the Cold War days. So if Isaias is in the background, calling all the strings, you're breeding chaos. There's nothing. There's no forward thinking coming from Eritrea. So this war on Tigray, it's trickled into Sudan, as you mentioned, because Sudan found the opportunity to reclaim historic lands that they that are theirs based on I believe it was the 1902 treaty with the British, something like that. I'm not
That's fine.
too studied on the history of that, but what when Tigray was in this leadership, they were able to negotiate and have some kind of diplomacy with all the other countries in the region except Eritrea, because Eritrea, of course, was not a country founded on democratic principles. Isaias robbed um, all the voices of the people, and he was the only voice representing Eritrea. So when Tigray was in leadership, they were able to build the dam and manage and control Egyptian relations. They were able to manage and control Sudan relations. But then, waging this war on Tigray and pushing Tigray to the side has caused the whole region to fall apart. And bringing in Isaias, who's supposed to be Ethiopia's enemy, uh, but unfortunately, Ethiopia has saw Tigray as a great, even greater enemy than Eritrea, which is terrible. It's just very terrible. But the question that I wanted to allude to earlier for Dade was, in what world could this relationship between Tigray and its vision, Amharos and their vision, and Abiy Ahmed, in what world, what kind of system would it work out? If it was some kind of perfect system that you could have, how could you see these three coexist?
Oh, yeah. Uh, we had the one panel we held in Gion. Myself was one organizer, but the presenters were Professor Medhane, if you know him by name. He's our very brilliant thinker. And then there was Dr. Asafaf Saha, very well-known guy for federalism and other political systems, and Lejatu and Lencho Data. So there was one thing that caught my attention from Medhane. While Lejatu and other people were just arguing that the ethnic federalism, we don't call it ethnic, we call it multinational federalism. They call it that way for obvious reasons. But they were just complaining about that's bringing fragmentation to the country. And Medhane was taking it the other side. In fact, what decentralization we have now is not enough. So we have to elevate it to confederation system. What could bring these three different entities to come to live peacefully together is a question. Well, inherently, there is nothing that we should fight about. There isn't. It's just how I see it is cultural, language, cultural, religion, and other social differences are never incompatible. They don't fight each other. There is no zero-sum nature in them. A culture cannot be taken and then owned by someone, and then the other one is with a less culture, and the other one with more culture. There is such a thing. It's not the way people are portraying it. Ethnic differences or national differences, cultural differences, language differences, the highest cost it can take is the translation cost, nothing else. In fact, it reaches the social wealth and social capital in many ways. It's the Amhara elite, very toxic people that they're just portraying it as if it's a negative or it's a liability to the country. So if you remove those narratives, those are this is a catchword, the narratives. They have been pushing around. That's what's polluting the minds of all the discourse in the country. What's happening is when they say Ethiopianism, when they say Amhara, when they say these ethnic differences, it just means one thing. They just want to advance the hegemonic interests. They, they've never done anything good with it. They've never built Ethiopia. Can you believe it? It's only this time that was built Ethiopia, like Mesfin was saying. 27 or 28 long years of peace in Ethiopian history. Never. That was never experienced in Ethiopia. Ethiopia has never, like, uninterrupted peace. That much. Uninterrupted economic development. That's even very remote to Ethiopian history. It has never been such a development back to back, 1 year after year. This is a double-digit development for more than a decade. I think closer to 2 decades. Yeah, this is just peace and security. Mikey yourself was saying it earlier that you could go from empty Ethiopia without worrying during nights, days, everywhere to any locality or remote area without
So then
anything.
how does
Yeah.
Ethiopia get back to that? Is that what we have to get back to, ethnic or multinational federalism?
I'm gonna answer this.
Now, you mean?
Go ahead, Mr. Ephraim. I mean, Mesfin.
You mean how would it get back to where it was?
Yeah, it
Is that
seemed
what
like it
you're
worked.
asking? Huh?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, now we have come into a different scenario.
Thank you.
The preamble in the Constitution, Ethiopian Constitution, was actually similar to the Constitution in the United States. It said it's to create a political and economic integration, to have a perfect union. That is the preamble. So we have experimented it, we have tried it, and it was a good experiment. It was really an engineering of a sort that we have undertaken. And I think there is now a missed opportunity, so to speak. And it's going to be rather difficult to get back to that order. And it's going to require a rethinking of where we want to go from here. All right. So it's inappropriate for me to sit here and prescribe where we're going and what direction we're heading, but it is something that we should start rethinking. And perhaps if there is a common sense, others also should be rethinking of how Ethiopia is going to integrate or interrelate to one another. So this is really time of finding out, looking into our own souls and say, okay, is what we have worth keeping, and even if there was any remote possibility, Abiy and them have destroyed it. So, and I think we are in a different situation. So, for us to really talk about, is there an opportunity for us to live together? And I think there could be. I mean, we're not ruling out anything, but right now, this is where reflections need to happen. We need to reflect.
Also, I will say, look, I'm sick and tired of sugarcoating anything. Okay, so I'm going to answer actually that in a more strong way than you want to hear from them. So let me just be clear. When I became a refugee, it was not a joke. Okay, when my people bled and died starvation during Mengestab, that was not a joke. That was real people dying, displaced all over Tigray, all over Eritrea, all over Sudan. And why were you born in Sudan? The story is the same. Your parents were displaced. I was displaced after I was born in Tigray. I was born into the civil war that was happening during the Mengestab era. Okay, what Mr. Mesfin said, yes, there was an opportunity. What Abiy Ahmed did, what the Amhara did, is they bit the hand that fed them. When they bite the hand that fed them, I'm not worried about Ethiopia today, my brother. I'm not thinking about Ethiopia today. I'm thinking about the people who are being choked in Tigray, our people. Okay, that's what I'm focused at. That's what I'm thinking about. Whether it be today or tomorrow, if there's going to be Ethiopia tomorrow, let it be. Let them participate. Let them go fight Sudan's war that they're talking about. So if the Amhara has the guts to fight, we're not joining them. Let them stand up and go fight.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not.
Ethiopia will not disintegrate overnight. So
Well, that
I mean, has there in
it already
history?
is. Actually, it's already designated right now. You
Go
have
ahead,
the
Well,
Benshangul
Mengestab.
well,
Gumas.
there's a lot of
What were you going to
there's
say?
a there's a lot of Tagaros all over Ethiopia. There's
Well,
there's
because they've been on chokehold too. So I think we can revisit that discussion another day. But I'm like again,
And
I
I think the
apologize
best
for.
way, yeah, Mike, the best way to uh, in a situation like this is to say, let's reflect. One, we have evolved. All of us have evolved. If you ask me this same question 5 years ago, I would have had a different answer. Even further, if you had asked me 15 years ago, I would even have a much, much stronger answer to that. So, situations have evolved, conditions have evolved. Our people are in a different condition that they were in. So, you know, it's not like saying uh, today our priorities are yes, actually, it's to save our people, to save our region. That is probably the most important focus that we have. But while we are doing that, and then I think we need to reflect what our relationship are going to be, not only just in terms of whether we are going to remain in Ethiopia or not, but also really what our relationships are with the Afars, what are our relationship with the Eritreans, what are going to be our relationship with the Amharas and so forth. So I think this is time of reflection, and I think as people and as community, we're going to do that reflection.
So,
Let's
Mr.
just finish,
Musman,
let's just finish the business of taking care of our people and make sure that our survival is guaranteed. And once we're there, and in the process also, while we're doing there, so we need to reflect on it.
well,
war or no war, all conflicts end in discussion. So when the dust settles, all these regions and their representatives who are still alive, I guess, will come together and we'll go border by border and discuss, what's our future. How do we move forward? What's our relationship gonna look like you mentioned,
Exactly.
Afar?
That's what I meant by being reflecting. It's because then we will sit down and said, okay, where are we going from here? And the directions are either left or right, front or back. So whatever the crossroads, we'll pass it, and I think we'll cross the bridge when we get there.
thank you. So I know, Mr. Dade, I want you to jump into that discussion too, but um, let me make it brief. But I respect both of you guys. Um, I'm burning inside and outside. I'm enraged of what's happening. All of us handle the situation differently. The way I'm handling it, I'm not okay with any of the thing that's happening from the particular, I'm going to say the Amhara, because the reason I mentioned about the Oromo, they don't border us. They cross mountains and valleys to come all the way to Mekelle to do the right thing, which is to help a human being. Okay? The Amharas, yes, there are good Amharas. I believe in that. Yes. But where are they? Where are those good Amharas? Like growing up in this country, I've been like, like an activist, like in Black Lives Matter. I have, I'm going to say this publicly. I had FBI's and Secret Service speaking to me before. Wanted to make sure that I was not doing anything. Okay. I'm not a stranger to the American government. Growing up in this country, I have nothing to fear. Okay. And as a refugee from Tigray, as an American citizen, I'm enraged against Amhara. I don't call them elite. I believe the majority of Amhara, before they're born, before their umbilical is cut from their mother's belly, they are taught to hate us, to hate my people. So, in America, when we go out protesting for Black Lives Matter, we don't think all white Americans are racist. Absolutely not. But we're not going to sugarcoat it when the KKK come out, when Donald Trump says in Charlotte, North Carolina, that there were good people on both sides, yet a woman who was peacefully protesting, exercising her First Amendment right to free speech, was run over by a vehicle when the KKK came out to kill the Jewish and everything else they were speaking for. We're not delusional.
That's a good example. Let's, if I can continue off of your example, what the Black people's experienced in America is similar to what the Tagaros experienced in Ethiopia.
Thank you.
But today you can see that Black people have moved past that and are continuing friendly, social, and intermarriage relationships with white people today. So
that's because white people are coming out to protest and to respect Black lives to matter. And that's what I'm saying. I'm demanding for Amhara, if they want us to live side by side. I am publicly saying to all Tagars around the world, we are not going to support Amhara to go fight Sudan. I'm just like, sorry, like I'm going to just keep
Amharas, whether they like it or not. First of all, you can't cut our map and paste it somewhere else. So Amharas will always be our border nation. But whether they like it or not, for
Tigray to exist, we're going to exist when our military is stronger than ever before. Amhara doesn't understand how to live side by side in peace, except when there's a military strength and power. That's when they're going to respect us, and we're no longer.
Exactly.
We're not going to be fooled again. So fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Or
exactly. If you look at what's going to happen today, what's happening today, Tigray is, ultimately dying and sacrificing for the freedom of not just Tagaros, but indirectly for the freedom of Eritreans and all of Ethiopia once these two dictators are removed. But what Amhara, whether they want to believe it or not, Tagaros will always be the ones to take care of them and to show them the right way. So that's the jealousy, the hatred coming from the Amharas and the Eritreans is because they know that at the end of the day, Tagaros are their father. Tagaros are the ones who are going to teach them religion and Israel and everything. So sooner or later, they're going to respect us whether they like it or not. Yes, they do have to come out and start protesting and being on our side, but they're not going to do it because they want to. They're going to do it because they have no other option.
So, Dade,
interesting. That is what we're. Yeah. No. These are when we are talking about reflections, these are the kinds of thoughts that needs to be aired and discussed. So we're beginning actually to have that conversation in my view, but let's not take this conversation takes us away from our focus. Our primary focus now and today is to make sure that we are actually the voice of the voiceless, that we are actually doing everything possible to make the international community aware of our situation and to respond in kind. Mike was saying in 1997, United States actually took up bombed when they felt there was actually a massive genocide that was taking place in Kosovo. So if they can do it then, so should they today, because it's no less of a genocide than it was in 1997. So let's focus on that, while at the same time building our unity at the same time strengthening our interpersonal relationships. And then, of course, in the process of this, we not only think of where we're heading, but also, I mean, this war is going to end. I'm 100% sure it's going to end, and it's end in our favor, and we're going to end it, not anybody else. So when that happens, when that ended, there is another cycle of jobs we have to do. So we should start thinking even now in terms of what is going to happen in post-war situation in Tigray. So all those thoughts, we need to do them at the same time, simultaneously, with laser focus on what we're doing today.
I mean,
Thank you. I know.
from our battlefield for diasporans, our battlefield.
Hold on, Mengestab. I got to get Dade into this one, and then I want to briefly to switch into Tigray now before we end this conversation. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to let you jump in, Dade, please.
Okay. What am I jumping at?
So I just feel like you were patiently waiting, but we were talking, obviously. Yeah. So let's, we run in far behind on the time that I want to run. So let me just jump into Tigray now real quick, and I'm going to start with you, Dade, and then we'll go circle so we can finish our broadcasting here. So for those who are following us in English, we're going to switch into Tigray now, which is the native language of Tigray and Eritrea. We live, the Eritrean people, the Tigray people live side by side for centuries. They will live side by side for centuries. Isaias Afwerki will be a matter of time when he dies. We know the Eritrean people are just, heartbroken like we are heartbroken. So that is sure. What the Roma did today, I am so pleased. I want good Amharas to come out and do the right thing for what Mr. Mesfin say to heal. And Mengestab, I appreciate your input. I am just hurt like everyone else, obviously, but I take it personal because today I heard one of my family member arrive to the refugee in Sudan, so I'm working on trying to figure out how to get hold of them. So let me switch the question to Tigray now, the discussion. Dade how not بتعمل أنيلي مشيت منسير كمل خوينا زي عادنا زني حاول تولعوا حزبنا أي تفكرني أكون إحنا من أسي تجارو بحد وجن ندتنا تري ولهم ندتنا دي ناجن أو أكشن نقعد زلنا تدرس النازل نتايو أو عادي بتلاقي إثيوبيا زل أب كاتجراي وز أزل لو تجار خلط الوز سمعنا زل هو نتايو إحنا أو قلنا كوينا أو قلناهم سخاتهم كوينا سخاتكم تبلس أي بوليتيكا بمويا بكل نجار عدنا زقل لكم سواتكم كوينو خاي أنا سايب سدة زلوا از عاد تولده خمن منجستا سدة تولدو أنا علي عاد تولده تسديده تفوت خذ وصل كل حاجة أيرسعنا ينزلنا أوزيات أستر بالكا مورال أوز أزل هزبين أب إثيوبيا أب تجري زنيه تجروا هزبي مورالنا حسب أستر بالكا تقربنا داسيرني
يعني اللي يا مسكين طعمي دز السيتينج يجي معلوم فمزي ترى نمو معنا مرافق قوي على تسفى قبر يرد أنتي والكائن قرت زقات من هذا اللي طعمي زقرم بدري مجلسون زركوي مثلا كوينون فلتي مثلا من الوقت تجارس لزغنا فنحالف وينا بزح حزب حالف وزغنا يمثلنا تي بدل برتيع زلون تهزبي سي علامة نحرنا تهزبتي نمتكعن نمسكوان نمسوارن تقوينو بنيجتي حالي بقليل وقعت أي نبركخن زبلن زي حزن تزشعر نايو قبلك زيتي نايو أي قرفنان تماريسو كرخبنا يخرها خبنا يسلزولي زغلو تريزل حاول يشتي تصبا بوتا زغلو فاير باور زغلو درون نعلم وقي توهايل حد موران كنا نعلم وقي بزحات عدتات يتساتفنا ناي إرترا ناي قرم وقان طرح يكون ناي كم كندي بوتا كبر حقوق مثلا عادتات بدخلتن بإكسبرتيزم بغير يتساتف الله سيزين عالم موجين أنا بحكي أمنيشتي تقدر تبان سبب بوتامات نيجي هزبي بزح عام زي يقولوا ناي مثلا العامة دي ناي حبو ناي حلنا ناي مورال حل دي حل تزيكوين عام تزيكوين سلزي زغلو زقط مزلو زي نارقا زي كتقص زي كتحمم يتغل مناسي ما تحرقوا تلهم تنالوا تلهم تخكلي كم يقوم زلو خميل كذا ناي بعد خان مسخام وقع له ما دي تزبها قبل ما تقول لك تكفعي ولا شو كان الناس كانوا على حزبي من زي قبل حزب ابغون اسب كم اقول مثلا انجاستيس كصحنت له طعمي يقاصل ينادك زي يردني الساعتهم كعقوني لهم يمزغوروا ولا تتريوا لكم كم زي ناولوا بمعلتو زي انا حرقوا زغوروا نسي ما اوكي حدا سبينا قتلنا لكم حدا سبينا حزنا لكم جن مالتيبلاي نقولوا ندلينا نبوز حساب كنا حمد نبوز حساب كنا نادلك نحرق ديمورالايز نقبر ندلينا يتو حسن زي أو عدد لهم مناسيون فيلكا لمن لكم أكافل الناس لأن الله عطهم وقت زارب للهمبر بزح لمدي يزلوا زعبي فلسي عبيتون كرد كحب زي حدش فلتتك تحلال في غيري نروون لنا تعميتي نرجوهم بتعمي زدلي تقنيا purpose director control بزح نقدر يتكلم سلسلة تجارهم وتجاروا وزلهم بزي بحرك عن زي كون إذا نجرزي أوكي سألاقي كون له حاسيو يجبر له سلزي حاسيو كاتر حاجة تصغر تخل بلان بخوين كمان استراتيجيز جرك يوم تعز جبر صح تعز جبر دحين صح تعز جبر سألاقي أبزا درجة زي أمس صح تعز جبر أبزا درجة زي أمس صح تعز جبر نزي مسملس كل ما تعز جبر كل نجر بأوردرو وقتله خلط في غير يزيركم سعينا نوصينا فلوتي إذا ترى يكون هذا الجن واقع خسارة خنا الحين سايك نحصر جن تعمي سمارت ولا كايدا لنا نبوز حاسس زي كنا بوز حنا قص زي لنا سمارتلي ديبلويد كون لنا وكل سرح مات إذا تزقبر زلة صبويو طرح حدنتكم تناخروا كل نجر purposeful بزغال من قدي ناب تدرب توسخي صعد تأتت المجواري دحرايك ديمورالايز زي مخان زي من لا زي محرق ايموشنال زي مخان ستات ناب تخكرينيا بوزيتيف انرجي نغيركا هزو خاله محقاس حد سب مدحان حد عاوي نغير يو حنتي معلتي خلطفات مدحان حد عاوي نغير يو سلازي نابيتات عاد ابز جبر حوارو بزح نغير كمتي مسفن زلو زلو زواصنا بزح نغير كنحسبينا نزارينا ممهار نغورينا سلازي ناب كمزي بس نغير دغنا كمزي نعت نغبرينا كلهم صراحتات بمعلتو سر وصلت لهم زي كونس بمعلتو الناس صراحه خي بص مغبا نغبرينا حز ግን አቲና ለና ተሽግር ጸላአትና ዘይሙህ ሩህ ማዓት አርመኔታት መኻኑ ወሪና ይመለና ምንም ዘይሙለስ መኻኑ ወሪና ይመለና ስለዚህ እحنا خታይ ንገብር ዝብል ነገር ካብዛ ለማዓንቲ ሂማኒታሪያን ዝኾነ አክት ንገብረላ ክሳብታ ጽባሕ ሪሃብሊቴት ከቢገና ንገብራ ትግራይ ዝብል ሓስወሉ ንቀሳቀሰሉ እዩ I think we are all being okay. More is needed, more can be done. أو تعتقد ما تصرحنا تقول المثلني يا راميلي.
Thank you Dade. By the way, بلبي نسخاتهم بخوانا عويهم زوالكوا بعدما يكون بلبي مالتي. زغلت عندنا تاريخ كل نجارنا يغني لكم غير كم نقرأها. تزن نهار نزل لخان نسوا ناميام تكملوا مكوريا ذا لهوجن. أنا سي بقى عادة هو الناس قال مناسين بحر زرنا كوالا مس منقساب كلاشين حزنا كوان ثلاثة صلاة قتيلنا موتنا نيرنا مسحزنا عاوزي جن حيزنا فات ضايع بلو زارن تلو خزي قدمه بيله بقى أنا كنت جور وزر لهم بنو على خويناتي وقال هاتي له متابع عمنا عاوزي سوشيال ميديا تقونه بخمسين جور وزرنا حيزي عبد الجوس هنا خوانه زي شرحنا جاري سنة ترات نصحفنا 4 جزيان على زوم أخيوا كايدة مس هنا مسون كان كل جزء الرحبيان سام بيزنا هون كحد جزء خلوا لك أنا وركوس تايب اللمبر نات بكايو نقبله هنا thank you emotional كوينا خان إحنا تجارو كيدنا نسوي بود إلنا خن قد ولا صراحة عندهالو زيو أبعلا ما نزيلنا أو عادتنا زيل سلزخونة نصير الدقن يوجد أنا تزلنا الدقن زلوا نحناتي نحناس أنا نوعلي حادثة وكينا كان كل سميته ديك وصي له في እግዚአብሔር بعد لي بمنتاي نسو أنا يفوتر يجي وصي له أنا هذي أنا كنا أخوينا ريء خندي بدرج زموت حزبنا تساقي حزبنا بس عايز يقول أنا أوكو 50 كوي جوركم عدمي جد ثلاثة جزء كنا ريء بهوتي عم جس بك أنا you know it's not a frustration it's emotional كون نسلو يكون فازر يعني ركز عبو سايش من سرح زلنا نسوي يجن أبلي هو أنا زيجن هي زيجن هزبي انتايز جبر هزبي كم زيجرو أم حرام حارق قبل نزلوا أم حاركو لوحواتنا أخو منا خيمنا بسيرنا أنا نحنا بدينا يوم نحنا تقرأي سي لأرترا تقاعمين ناس النتنا هيدو أم ناس النتهم بزين مولو تقرأي هزبي دقي في أرتراوين حزب تواني دق فمي زرخوا المكرايو أحواتنا خي زم كلهم جكان أحواتنا تقالي سم أبرقات جوا تقرأي عدم حارة زموتو عطسون تم كي تربص وام دمو خم وحج كي وصدكم تباهيلو بيهاتنا خنقرن كله حزب تقرأي ما حارين كم حارين يزن يخويزي نم حارة أبدي سابقاتي أيقودون ما نقدر يسرحن كوناتنا هزبي ما أي بقى نجزي في بري فوق دينك بقى خم هاجرنا مسزنا مسيتي حدا يتبع خوينا خلنا برينا يلو كمل يسبين هزي تقرأي بزح يبل بزح يرخبن هذا فلتشن حمشت تستوسوا وهم مريجا مستفايدة تقرأي وده مكالة نبرتاችን ወደ ቀበሌ ናወዱ ቁጣሪፎም ነው يوم حار ነይሩዎም ይሕማሞ ካብ ቀደመት ይዘ ቅማላም ትግሬ ናተፋለ አና አማርኛ ኢትዮጵያ for the first time 1999 የመጀመሪያ ኢትዮጵያ ኸይረ ዝረኸው አነ ነው አለይ አፍደር ታውስ ንሳኔ ድሕሪ ግን ተማላሪሰ ንምንታይ መንነተይ በቃ ትግረው አነ ግን እንኳዕ ካብ ትግራይ ተወለድኩ ናይ ኩሉ ይትረፈና ድሓን እንኳዕ ግን ደመይ ካብ ረሳሕ ደም እንኳዕ ተወለድኩ እና እንታይ ክብል ህዝብና ትክክለኛ ግፍዒ በአብይ አሕመድ ጀሚሩ በኢሳያስ አፈወርቂ መጽኦ ወዝኒ ግፍዒ ትክክለኛ አይኮነን ህዝብና ኣብዚ ቃናይ ክዳናገር የውልን ሓሪና ክንቃተል ክንበኣስ ንኻሊእ ሰብ ክንጎዳ ኣይኮነን ንሰም ሓራብ ስነ ስርዓት ጎኒ ኮይና ሰላም ተማየጥና ውዒል ሓድና ክነብሩ ተኮይና ግን መጀመርታ ሒዚ ይምፅኡ ናባና መፅኦም ሒዚ ጀኖሳይድ ትግራይ ዘይኣመንሉ ዝነበሩ ካብኡ ላዕሊ ምእመን የብልና በቃ ይግበረሎ ህዝብና ይውዳእ እዩ ዘሎ ህዝብና ቆሎ እዩ ዝብሎ እምበር ሰብ ኣይሕረን ኢኹም ቆሎ this is you know genocide at least እኮ ንኣብነት በደርጊ ግዜ ቴክኖሎጂ ይነበረ ኣሜሪካን ዋላ ሳተላይት ንሄው እዩ ኢንተርሰፕሽን ናይ ስልክ ንሄው እዩ ንሕና ንባዕልና ሒዚ ላይቭ ናኾነ ሓደ ዘመሓልፉ ንሄው እዮም ኢንፎርሜሽናት ከይወፅእ ናጠንቀቕና ከይጉድኑ ዓለም ኢና እምበር ዳኪመንት ዝኾነ ጀኖሳይድ ፋክት ዘለዎ እኒሄ እዩ ኣብይ ኣሕመድና ኢሳያስ ኣፈወርቂ ድማ ፅባሕ ንጎ ወይ ብሓይሊ መንግስቲ ትግራይ ወይ ድማ ብናይ ዓለም ህተትሉ ግዜ ክመፁ እዩ ዋላ ነዊሕ ኮይኑ እንተተሰምዐና ሒዚ ኣለዎም እዩ ግዜ ናኻቶም ግን ኣብዚኡ ኣትሊስት ከምኡ ጌርኩም ተስፋ ንክትህቡልና ነቲ ህዝብና ንኣና ከዓ እቲ ሓደ ነገር ከምዚ እዩ ኣየኹም ክትብሉና እንተለኹም ንዒቕና ሰውና ቸለልታ ኮይና ኢሞሽናል ኮይና ኣይኮንና ንሰምዖ ብደንቢ ንሰቢልና ብክብሪ እናተቐበልና ዕላማና ከዓ ካብ መስመር ከይንወፅእ ተጋሩ ኢና መስመርና ትግራዋይ ኮይንናማ ዋላ እንተዘናለና መስመርና ኣይንስካሓትን እዚ እቲ ደስ ዘብለን ዘኽብረና ኣቶ መስፍን ይቅርታ ተዘረባ ሰው ኢላ ንሒዘየ ፍሎር ሂዚ ሓሳባት ባዕልካ መቅረበልና ነቲ ህዝብና ያው
by the way ኣይንሕረቕ ኣይንናደድ ኣይንበሳጮ ኣይኮነን ዝበሃል ዘሎ ተዘይትናደድ ኣነ ክሕስበኒ ነይሩ ከምኡ ኢልካ ምሕሳብካ ምጭናቅካ ምንዳድካ appropriate you the right reaction እውን እዩ ብሕዚ ግዜ ዘይሓረቀ ምሕራቅ ማለት ግን preoccupy ክገብረና ይብሉን ንሕና ሕርቃን ሲ ሒዙና ካብቲ ንደልዮ ነገራት ካብ ንገብሮ ስራሕቲ ስሕት ከብለና ይብሉ ሓረቕወ ግን ሕርቃን ናብ ሕራና ንቕይሮ ሕርቃን እዚ ናብ ኤነርጂ ንቕይሮ ሕርቃን እዚ ናብ ተግባር ንቕይሮ ስለዚህ ከምኡ ክንከውን ኣለና ማለት እዩ እምበር ኣይኮነን ዶ ስኻ ሓሪቅካ ዕድሉ ተትረክብ ጠበንጃ ሓይስካ ትኸይድ ኣነ ኣብ ወዲ 70 ዓመት ኮይነ እውን ትሕርቃን ኣለኒ ኦፖርቹኒቲ ተዝብሉስ ምኸርኩም እዚም ገበርኩ ክብል እየ so appropriate easy and I respect it very much by the way እሱ የዘልኩ እንታይ ዘተሐርቅ ነይሩ ተተሓሳስበኒ ነይሩ ስለዚህ ምሕራቅና ትኽክል እዩ عند ባህልና እውን ጽቡቕናትና ከም ተጋሩ ድማ ንሕና መራሕትና ከበሳብስዎም ተለው ሕዚ ዞም መራሕትና ትማሊ ክቐትሎም ዝመፀ ሰራዊት ክቐትሎም ዝመፀ ህዝቢ ሓብሒቦም ካብቱ ናታቶም ካብ ባዕልቶም ምብላዕ ንባዕሉ ንዕዑ ብሊዖም ኣምሂሮም ዝሰዱ ዝነበሩ እዮም ቂም በቀል ዘይፈልጡ ዝነበሩ እዮም እዚ ስጊዶም ኣይምነበረን ኦኬ ግን ንፈልጦ ኢና ንምንታይ ከም ዝገብርዎ ዘለዉ እዚኦም ጀጋኑ ምዃኖም ሰይፈልጡ ኮይኖም ኣይኮነን ግን እዞም ጀጋኑና እዚኣቶም ንሓና ናታቶም ከምዚ ምዃን ንዓና ቅስምና ሸረና ስለዝመሰሎም እቲ መሰጅ እዚኦም ምንም ሎሚ ኣበይ ከም ዝነበሩ እንታይ ከም ዝሰርሑ ዝነበሩ ገለ ይፈልጡ እዮም እዚኦም ብጡረታ ዝነበሩ ምዃናቶም ይፈልጡ እዮም ግን ሲምቦሊካሊ እዚኣቶም ንዓና ዓበይቲ ሰባት እዮም ንዓና ኣብ ታሪክና እዮም ሕዚ ዝድለ ዘሎ ከምቲ ቤተ ክርስቲያንና ዘጥፍዎ ዘለው ከምቲ ቤት ትምህርትና ዘጥፍዎ ዘለው ከምቲ ኢንፍራስትራክቸርና ዘጥፍዎ ዘለው ታሪክና እውን እዮም ዘጥፍዎ እዞም ታሪክ እዚኦም ምጥፋእ ድማ እዚኦም እዮም ቶም ሲምበልስ ኦኬ እምበር አልነጋሽ ነጃሲዶ ሓደ ብስሩ ታሪክ ኢትዮጵያዊ የዝብል የዝለካ ኣለኹ እዚ አልነጃሲ ንትግራይ ጥራይ ሲምበል ኣይነበረን ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ሲምበል እዩ ኣክሱም ናይ ትግራይ ሲምበል እዩ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ሲምበል እዩ ነይሩ ኦኬ ስለዚ ነዚ ታሪክ ክተጥፍእ እንተለኻ ጠቕላላቱ ታሪክ ናይ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ይጥፋእ ማለት ስለዝኾነ ንዞም ዞም መራሕትና ክቐትልን ከበሳብስ እንተሎ ንዕኦም 5 6 7 10 ዝኾኑ ተጋደልቲ ሞይቶም ቅደም እውን ክንመውት ኢና ዝብሎ ሰልፍ ኣብ ኔጌቲንግ ዝነበሩ ንዓቶም እሱ ግን ናቱ ትርጉም ግን ካል እዩ ንዓቶም እዚኣቶም ብምግባር ንዚ ህዝቢ እዚ ንዚ ኣብ መራሕትና ኢሉ ንዝሪኦም ህዝቢ ንዚኣቶም ሓሞቱ ንምቕታል ርእሱ ከድንን ንምግባር እዩ ነይሩ ከምኡ ባህል የብልና ንሕና ባህልና ከምኡ ኣይኮነ የስ ንሓዝን ኣሕዋትናን መራሕትናን ገለ ከምዚ ዓይነት ነገር ክበፅሖም ብጣዕሚ ንሓዝን ግን ድማ ወይለይ እንታይ እዮም ገዲፎም ልና ከይዶም ካልኦት ከምኦም ዝበሉ ጀጋኑ ኣፍርዮም ከይዶም እዮም ብኡ ንሕበን ብኡ ንሕጎስ ብኡ ኣይዞኹም ናታትኩም ታሪክ ኣይነጥፍእ እንብሎ እሱ እዩ እቲ ኢምፖርታንት ምሕራቅ ንብሎ ዘለና ከምዚ ዓይነት ነገር ክርኢ እንተለና ንሓርቕ በተኦልሶ ናታቶም ፈለግ ንኽተል ናታቶም ዝሰርሕዎ ዝነበሩ ናታቶም ታሪክ ንክምስራሕ ንስኻትኩም ድማ ዳትስት ንዓኻትኩም እዮም ወሊዶም ዘለዉ ሳት ነዚ ኢኻ ክትሓርቕ ንዓድኻ ክትፈቱ ዝገበረካ ናታቶም ታሪክ እዩ ቀደም ቅድሚ ንሳቶም እኮ እዚ ታሪክ እዚኦም ምስርሖም ትግራዋይ ከም ትግራዋይነቱ ኣት ዋን ታይም ኣዲስ ኣበባ ተቐሚጡ ቋንቋ ዝረስዐሉ ደቁን ቋንቋ ዘይምህረሉ ህዝቢ ደቁ ታሪክ ዘይኽደሉ ደረጃ እኮ በፂሖምዎ ነይሮም እዮም ካልኣይ ወያነ ዝገበሮ ነገር እንተልዩ እዚ ሪቫይቫል እዩ እዚ ሬነሳንስ እዩ ስለዚ ሕዚ እዚ ዘምፅኡ ጀጋኑ ንዓኻትኩም ወሊዶም ኣለዉ እዚኦም ዘምፅኡ ጀጋኑ ንዓኻትኩም እግሮም ክትክተሉ እዮም ኮንዲሽንስ ፈጢሮም ከይዶም ስለዚ ኣነ ዳደ እውን ኮነ ኣነ ሓሪቕካ ክንብል ተለና ንምውቃስ ኣይኮነን ተሓርቕ ነይሩ እየ ዝብል ዘለኹ ኣነ ብሕጉስ እየ ሃውኤቨር ኤነርጂናስ ከመይ ጌርና ኣበይ ንግበሮ እዚ ኤነርጂ ናበይ ፎከስ ንግበር እዚ ሕርቃን ናበይ እንታይ ስሙ ንግበሮ ካብ ማለት ወፃእ I think it's appropriate you ኣይኮነን ዶዚ ሎሚ حالنا قبر وانت تبهاله basically ጊዜውን ቦቱን ንምረጸሉ ዳይምበር appropriate
Thank you. أنا لما أنت تقاتلني هم بقى بتعمل يوم سيا هذا اللي خد جزية midnight يكون
ناس لما أنا تفرح ذا اللي خنا قرك مايك
thank you
داده يزور منقدين
سلازيو
أب كيس دفن فرحية بهالريس
لك أمو 5 minutes بتقدر شادي هتعيش من جوار منgestab حسنا بالكا على تلي كو أصلمو كاو سامرين ستي كلنا سامرايز نقول بك
منgestab يا أبو عدل that's it أنا كوا ودي
يود منgestab ودا
كما كابتي داده زبلو حرنتنا بتعامي أدلايو سلمنتاي نانا ملختي منتي كقاوح دي عالم انتي كسمعنا بزح سب كتطلف الله ابتي بروتست خوينو بزح حزبي وتي ابتي ترجع تريون دي ميديا عينهم كتقلمتو يوم نابو انك قاوحو يوم ناسنا ملختي اب سوشيال ميديا وين بزح شير كنقبر لنا على تويتر بزح ريتويت كقبر الله سو حنتنا بتعمي السويو حيلنا نا مستي من عيسى من بيتي كوينا بحبار كوينا حرنتنا كنت انكر لنا نا كاب مسفن زولو حرقان بحرقان كنسعر يقبنا يتحرقان ناب انرجي كلوات الله زبالكايا وين سو بتعمي important to أنا كم ميكي برات على لك كالس كقادل دلينيرة because إذا كله زغفرنا زلو بتعمي أحرقني أنا ولدي أبعدي يوم زلو سبعا حمشتن معلتي جرا دمصم كابز سمع من عسى حوي علني وانا أبعدي سبعا حمشتن عم معلتي جرنا تزاربنا بحسب دعونا نجزي يخيدو عادي بتيز بتقول زلو كنات كمت عيكالن تدالي نيرو كمت نيرو جن هاير مجندي تعطيو ناب ملا ناب عديساف كيد عيكالن so تفعلنا بدمتي اندزي معانتي تفعلنا فلتن بهيوتنا فلذي بتي قتلت بتي أوالدنا ندفرا إذا كله نسمعه ميكي نقرأ نرى أنا بسودان جرك أتدلك كعلس كقاد دلك حرك عن مالتي كن بزحات مخري دهوني زنورو إتي سرحنا عزيز نقرأ زلنا زي كالسي ميدا نا السوشيال ميديا بتعمي معي نستم متادرات أبتي إناي كوينات ميدا زلو كلتيو important you لذي just بتناد جرا كتصللو على خو أبزي protest يكون على السوشيال ميديا بزح وفري قبر على خو مسزبي دي محابر زلو ساندياغو غارو نا بالالي اتماتاتون انا كوسخلو زدلي ازي نفسي درجة نفسي كنتات مزحنا بناتنا ازي ناي اتي هبرتسناي كالي هبرتسب جيجا كنقرم ما ينقل لنا يبعلنا تاريخ رينا كمي تايجرنا نتنا قدلت انتاي نيرو لمنتاي نفسي بتحنا وين كنفلت علنا زي تاريخ يدقم له مثلا ناتنت مسرخمنا دحري تسعن حدا مس إثيوبيا حاويسنا حارن انتي كنكون زمرتنا مجدي شعور صبق نيرو تموكيرو أي سرحن لومي فلتنا أي سرحن لازم نبتي زحلفة كنملس ኣይንኽእልን ቀፂልና ካብቲ ዝነበረ ክንመሃር ኣለና ካብ ኣቦታትና እንታዮም ጽቡቕ ገይሮም እንታዮም ኣበይ ስሒቶም በደንቢ ተተማሂርና እዚ ነገር ኣይድገምን እዩ ክንቀጥለሉ ንኽእል እና just ሕጂ ሓሳበይ ብዙሕ just ፋሕፋሕ ኢሉ ግን you know ብሕቶ ስለዘየለ ፋሕፋሕ ኢሉ ግን ብሕቶ ተኮይኑ ፅሩይ ገይረ ክምልስ እኽእል ነይረ ግን በቃ just ብጠቕላላ እሱ እዩ ናተይ መልሲ
ጽቡቕ ካለና በቃ ዳዴ በቃ ሳመራይዝ ጌርካ ንህዝብና ብምሉኡ በቃ ሞራል ኣስረቢልካ ኣቶ መስፍን ከምኡ ኣነም ካብ ገብረ ክንዓጽ በቃ ኣስረቢልና
ግርም ወንቲ እዋን ናይ ኩላትና ዓቕሚ ትኩርነት ዝሓትት እዩ ምስ ወፃና ነውግዖ ኢና ኣብ ማእኸል መንገዲ ኣብ ማእኸል ናይ ፀላኢ ሓው እናሃለካ ግን ናብ ምቁዛብ ናብ ንምንታይ ከምዚ ኮይኑ ንምንታይ ከምዚ ኮይኑ ንምንታይ ወሪድና ገለ እናበልካ ኣይተስተማስልን ስለዚ ቀጢልና ነተን ዝግባኣ ነገራት እናገበርና ከም ህዝቢ ተሓባቢርና ኩሉ ዓቕምናትና ኣዋሪድና ተሓባቢርና ክንሰግራ ኣለና ምንታይ ክትሓፅል ከዓ ስምረት ብጣዕሚ ዘድሊ ትኩርነት ብጣዕሚ ዘድሊ ታሪክ ወሒድና ይፈልጥን እዚ ከዓ ታሪክ ክንውስኸሉ ኢና ክንሰግሮ ኢና ንዓብዪ ታሪክ ዝስራሕ ኩሉ ግዜ ዓብዪ ቻለንጅ ክትሓልፍ ከለካ እዩ ዓብዪ ሕቶ ዓብዪ ፀገም ክሕለፍ ተሎ እዩ ስለዚ እዚ እውን ናብ ዓብዪ ታሪክ ዘሳግረና ሓደ ርእሱ ዝኸኣለ ዓብዪ ምዕራፍ እዩ ብከምኡ ሓሲብና ፀላእትና ስዒርና ናይ መወዳእታ ሰሓቅ ንሕና ንስሐቐሉ መዓልቲ ክመፅእ እዩ ኣጀኹም ኣጀና ንበርትዕ ይኽእል ይደሊ
Thank you. ኣቶ መስፍን final any
I think በደንብ ገይሩ ዳደ ሳምራይዝ ገይርዎ እዩ በብመዓልትን ብንሰምዖ ነገራት ክንደናገፅ ክንሰኩን ኣይግበአናን እቲ ታሪክና እውን ከምኡ ኣይኮነን መራሕቲ ሞቱ ካልኦት መራሕቲ ይትክኡ ኣብ ግለሰባት ዘተኮረ ኣይኮነን ቃልስና ካልኦት ቅድሚት እውን ካልኦት ኣይስውን ማለት ኣይኮነን ከምኡ እንተተኮይኑ እውን ንቅድሚት ዝበለፀ ክንጠናኸርን ክንዓብን ይገብረና እምበር ንድሕሪት ዘምልሰና ነገር የለን ንጠራጠሮ ነገር ክህሉ የብሉን ብእምነት እውን ስጥተው ስለ ዝበልና በምንም ዓይነት ካብዚ ክዕንቅፈና ዝኽእል ነገር ክህሉ ኣይኽእልን ስለዚ እምነት እያ ኣብ ህዝቢ ዘለና እምነት ኣብ ዕላማና ዘለና እምነት ግን ንዚ እዩና ኸይንኽ ኣብ ጥርጥር ውሽጢ ክንእትዎ ዘይግባአና ክንህሉ እውን ከምኡ ዓይነት ጥርጣሬ እውን ክህልወና ይግባአን በምንም ዓይነት ኣነ ጥርጣሬ ዘይብለይ ነገር ክንዕወት ኢና ፎር ሹር ምንም ብዘየጠራጥር ማለት እዩ ሎሚ ዝበፅሕ ንእሽተይ በደላት ንዓና እናጠናኸረና ከይድ ኣለዎ ከምኡ ክኸውን ድማ ኢልና እውን ክንፅበዮ ኣለና ሰባት ስውኡና እዮም ደቅና ክስውኡ እዮም ኣሕዋትና ክስውኡ እዮም ዓበይቲ ተጋደልትና ክስውኡ ይኽእሉ እዮም ከይስውኡ ንደሊ ግን ክኸውን እዩ እንተኮይኑ ድማ መስዋዕት ኢሎም እውን እዮም ኣብ ከምዚ ኮንዲሽናት እዮም ንህዝብና ኢሎም እዮም ጠጠው ኢሎም ሰብ ተዘይተሰዊ ድማ ካብዚ እትሪኦ ኣለኹም ዝፍዎም ህዝብና ይስዋ ኣሎ ይባዕሉ ምንም ብዘይገበሮ ማለት ይጭፍጨፍ ኣሎ ፈወዲ 15,000 ዝኸውን ህዝብና ተቐቲሉ ኣሎ ምንም ብዘይገበሮ ምንም ገበን ብዘይብሉ ማለት እዩ ስለዚ እዚ ከይቅፅል እዚ ክንሓፅር ንዝገብርዎ ቃልሲ ኩሉ መዳይ ንተሓባበር ብኩሉ መዳይ ንሕግዝ እንየት ሽግራት ተፈጢሩ ግን ምንም ማለት ኣይኮነን ንቅፅል ከምቲ ሳቶም ኣረኪቦም ዝኸዱ ከምቲ ሳቶም ካልኦት ኣፍርዮም ዝኸዱ ንሕና እውን ሰባት እናፍረና ንኸይድ ስለዚ ምንም ዘጠራጥረና ነገር የለን እሱ የኽብል ዝደሊ
يغني بطعم ما
Mike, can I finish it up with just a couple of things? Sorry.
Sure.
نحنا كنعوتنا ناي جدا نساتهم نحنا عوت نمزقبنا أمونغو تكسارة نوصل زلنا بتي سيفيليان سلامنتاي نسوم كسعرهم كله نابتي سيفيليان متيو نابتم نسوان إنا وقعوا زخونة بيت كريستيان إنا فرسو مس إجابير كو جودليو إجي متزاهر تواجههم تايك كسعرهم مزياتهم استراتيجي زلوهم أيكونن so تين حبرتها زي بتصحوا زلوا عواتات نمزق لنا عوات اللي عواتات نمزق لنا إتي كسارة أبتي سيفيليان نسوم إتي إزي مسوايت نخفز لنا بناتنا سيفيليان نسوم سلز سعر زلوا إننا ناتنا حسوت إتي حسوت قداين تايو إتي حاجز بتقولوا إتي حاجز يتبيلو إتي منجستي أبي أحمد كل كلوهم كأتوا أي كالون حارس أتوا UN نبتي كام كخيد كمكر مكلو بتقيت توقع نيرو عالم زفلت أنا جريزي إتي عالم مس إثيوبيا منجستي أيكون زلو رجيم ماما يوم زلو هجي نحنا أبي فوكس كنقبر لنا إتي حاجز كميجرنا نبوش تقرأ كاتو قليو نتوم تسديدهم زلو أب السودان كميجرنا كحبزهم نقل بالسودان ديو كاتو زلو إتي حاجز ويكا إتي إمنتنا أب UN أب UN ديو UN مس أبي أحمد قال سمعنا كسرحو ديوم إتي سمعنا زنبرة كني 3-4 سومن تسمعي تبايلو نيرو ين دحر 4 سومن ريالنا ولا حنتي حاجز بملو تجراي آتون أمقلز نبرة نشتي نيرو جن حدا كمقلز دولة تايلات مينرا إتي أقحت I salafons alone نفتي إزبي so إلهم يقوم متوالو they just holding it so if we're gonna focus our fight, it's to find a way to, I guess, deliver supplies. I mean, this is something that's out of, out of my knowledge, to be honest. The protests that we're doing to make sure that the world understands and knows what's going on in Tigray. That's important. That's going to get documented, and at the end, the world will side with Tigray, and there will be plenty of aid for Tigray that will come in, and we're going to do our part, and that's like a totally different job. But as far as when that day is going to come and how many civilians are going to continue to suffer and how long this hunger is going to go on, it's really a question as how many lives can we save, and what can we do to fast forward and put a stop to the war and get immediate relief aid to the people. So that's all I want to say. Sorry for adding on to that.
That's okay. بقى لما بقى يكرتا تغاسي له يعني قصال جزيه قدام ويسنبت قدر ما تنغورت ساعات جزيه كل ما شاورنا من تازم حواتي صبروا بلهم كورات حواتنا أتو دادينا أتو مسفن ያው በቃ ፍርቅ ለይትን በቃ 12:30 ሚድናይት ሓሊፍዎም እዩ ዘሎ እና እዚኦም ኣሕዋትና 14 ሰዓት ስራሕ ንህዝቢ ትግራይ ከምቶም ኣብ ትግራይ ሜዳ ወፂኦም ዝኔው ሳልሳይ ኩናት ዘካይድዎ ዘለዉ ኣሕዋትና ብሃፍቶም ብፓስፖርቶም ቅድሚ ኩናት ዋላ ኾነ ኩናት ከተጀመረሉ ወፂኦም ካብ ዓዲ ናብ ዝደለይዎ ሃገር ከይዶም ብሰላም ክነብሩ ይኽእሉ ነይሮም እዮም እቶም ኣሕዋትና እዚኣነ በቃ ሓሳብ ዘሕልፋ ዘለኹ መጨረሻ እያ እዚኣ ግን ንሳቶም እንታይ እዮም ኢሎም በቃ ንሕና ምስ ህዝብና ተዋጊእና ኣብ ቅድሚ ህዝብና እንተ ሞይትና ከምቲ ኣቶ መስፍን ሓውና ዝበሎ ሓደ ሓላፊ ክመተሉ ሓደ ሓላፊ እዩ ዝትካእ እዚ ድማ በቃ ብስሩስ ተጋሩ ኮይንና ማ ኣይንጠራጠርን ኢና ሓደ ተጋዳላይ ክስዋዕ እንተሎ ካልእ ተጋድላ እዩ ዝትስእ ስለዚሁ ኣሕዋትና እኳ ብደርጊ ተዋጊኦም ብኤርትራ ግዜ ተዋጊኦም ሒዚ ሳልሳይ ኩናት ግን ዕድል ነይርዎም እዩ ክወፅእ እንተደልዮም ገዲፎሞ ጠንጢኖሞ ክወፅእ ካብ ዓዲ ይኽእል ነይሮም እዮም ግን ህዝቢ ትግራይ ኣሕሊፍና ኣይንህብን መርየት ትግራይ ኣሕሊፍና ኣይንህብን ኢሎም መራሕቲ ተጋሩ ኣሕዋትና ከምኒ ደብረፅዮን ከምኒ ጌታቸው ረዳ ካልኦት ዘለዎም ሜዳ ዝቃለሱ ዘለው ንሃቶም ዝባዕሉ በቃ ትምህርቲ ቤት ትምህርቲ ከይድና ስለተምሃርና ኣይኮነን ትምህርቲ ማለት እዚ ዕላማና ስለዚሁ ኣብ ዓለም ዘለኻ መንእሰይ ትግራዋይ ኣብ ዓለም ዘለኺ መንእሰይ ትግራዋይ ኣብ ኢትዮጵያ ዘለኹም በቃ ከምቲ ዝበልዎ ኣሕዋትና ትንሕርና ዘላ ሕራኔና ኣብ ሞያ ነውዕሎም ገንዘብ ዘዋፅእ ከዋፅእ ኣለዎ ሰላማዊ ሰልፊ ዝገብር ክሳተፍ ኣለዎ ቃላት ከዓ ካብ መስመር ይንውፃእ ሓቅነት ዘለዎና ኢንፎርሜሽን ባዕሉ ክንከታተለልን ኣሕዋትና ንኣብነት ኣነ ሞስትሊ ዳደ ምናልባት ቢዚ ስለዝኾነ እምበር ሶሻል ሚድያ ትዊተር በተለይ ኩሉ ግዜ ይከታተለ ዝፅሕፎ ዘሎ ጋዜጠኛ እዩ ከዓ ጋዜጠኛ ናይ ባዕሉ ኢንቴግሪቲ ናይ ባዕሉ ኤቲክስ ሓልዩ ዘመሓላልፍ ብዙሕ ትዊተራት የመሓላልፍ እዩ ስለዚ ኣሕዋት ኣብ ዓለም ዘለኹም ኣክሰስ ዘለኩም ንትዊተር ተኸታተሉ ናይ ትግራዋይ ተጋሩ ዝኾኑ ሚድያታት ዝሓዝዎ ተኸታተሉ ንከባበር ብሓደ ንኮይና ንዑ ንጠናኸር ንሕናማ ካብ እስራኤላውያን ንበዝሕ ኢና ከም እስራኤላውያን ኮይና ከዓ ሓቢርና ተጋሩ ድሕሪ ሒዚ ዝሓለፈ ይኣኽለና ድሕሪ ሒዚ ሓደ ኮይና በቃ ካብ ሓንቲ ትግራይ ኢና ተወሊድና ስለዚ ትግራይ ናትና እያ ኣደና እያ ካብታ ተወለድና ኣደና ግን ንሕና መስመር ትክክለኛ ንሕና ከምቲ ዝፍልዎ ዘለኹም ዓወት ድማ ጥያቄ የብሉን ትግራይ ትዕወት ኣይትዕወትን ኣይኮነን ጥያቄ ህዝቢ ግን ተጨቁኑ ዝኒሄ ህዝብና በቃ ኣብ ውግእ ዘይኣትዉ ዓበይቲ ሰብ ሽማግለታት ዝርበሹ ዘለው ዝቁተሉ ዘለው ግን ትክክለኛ ኣይኮነን እዩ እዚ ግን ኣና ድሕሪ ሒዚ ኣጣናኺሩ ዩናይትድ ፍራንት ኮይና ሃገርናን ህዝብናን ሰላም ንክምለስ ኢና ንቃለስ ዘለናና ብጣዕሚ ክብረት ይሃበለይ ኣሕዋተይ ይቀኒየለይ ድሓን ሕደሩና ኣብ ቀፃሊ ግዜ ግን ኣስተኻኺለ ሰዓት ክዕድመኩ ብእዋን ግዜና ይቀኒየለይ
Congratulating. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Dade. See you. See.
So,
yeah,
we have a couple minutes if you want to finish up. I know that they have to go because it is late and they are up early in the morning.
I'm here in the West Coast. It's only I think 9 something.
Yep. So for them, I feel like super guilty, but we are still live.
Okay.
So if you have like stuff to finish up, you're welcome. You know, I can stay live for a couple more minutes. I don't have a rush, but I was more concerned about their time to be more respectful and sensitive. So I think I felt it was a great discussion. I was a little bit emotional earlier. I think your questions were very valid. I think you're thinking bigger. You want to see peace and harmony for once and for all. I respect that. I understand that. Again, I'm going to mix the Grinya and English. Again, نحنا كنصحات زي بلنا مسمرنا كنوصل زي بلنا እንታይ ዘሎ ትስቃይ ህዝብና ደጋጊሙ ተሳቂዎ እዩ ተሳቃዮ ስቃይ ግን ንሕና እዚ ረሲዕና ቁስሊ ባንዴጅ ጌርካ ተጨጊንካዮ ተለይሎ ይሓውን ብትክክለኛ ግን ግፍዕ ናይ ኣምሓራይ ንህዝቢ ትግራይ ዝገብሮ ዘሎ ክንርስዖ ይንኽእል ኢና ባንዳታት ንባዕሎም ባንዳታት ናሃትና ተጋሩ ባንዳታት ዝገብርዎ ዘለዉ ንህዝብና እናጠቆሙ ክንርስዖ ይንኽእል ኢና ኤርትራውያን ከዓ ኣምበገነናት ምስ ኢሳያስ ኣፈወርቂ ኮይኖም ህዝብና ዝብድልዎ ዘለዉ ግፍዕታት ዘምፅሉ ዘለዉ ክንርስዖ ይንኽእል ኢና ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ግን ዘይቕበሎ ምዃኑ ትግራዋይ ማንም ኣብ ዓለም ዘሎ ክፈልጥ ኣለዎ ንፈልጦ ፍሉጥ እዩ እቲ ዝግበር ዘሎ ግን ክንርስዖ ማለት ኣይኮነን ዝኾነት ናይ ታሪኻዊ ዝኾነ ንብረት ካብ ትግራይ ተወረሰ ኣምባገነን ናይ ኤርትራ ኣብይ ኣሕመድ እና ማነው ኢሳያስ ኣፈወርቅና ኣብይ ኣሕመድ ዝሰርቅዎ ዘሎ ናይ ትግራይ መስጊዳትና ቤተክርስትያናት ንብረት ተይፈተው በቲ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ባዕሉ ፅባሕ ንጎ ዕድል ምስ ረኸበ ነቶም ለያቦ ጋሊፁ እቲ ናይ ትግራይ ሃፍቲ ተሰረቀ እቲ ኤርትራ ህዝቢ ባዕሉ ከም ዝምልሶ ፍሉጥ እዩ። እቲ ኤርትራ ህዝቢ ንትግራይ ብጎኒ ኮይኑ ከም ዝድግፍና ከም ዝሰርሕ ፍሉጥ እዩ። ምሶም ሓሩ ሰላም ኮይና ክንነብር ኢና ዝኢሉ ዝሓስብ ትግራዋይ ግን ዕሽነት እዩ። ይክን ጃምፔን
እሱ ናይ ሕጊ እዩ። ሰሪቆም ዝወስድዎ ብሕጊ ገርና ንኣቶ ኣቲና ንወስዶ ኢና። ብሓይሊ ጥራሕ ዘይኮነ ሕጂ ንሳቶም ኣትዩ ቅትለት ዝገበረ ስርቂ ዝገበረ ፍርዲ መዓልቱ ክረክብ እዩ ናይ ግድን። ስኢልካ ካብ ሰሪቕካ ክትሓልፎ ኣይትኽእልን። ናይ ሰብ ንብረት ወሲድካ ክትነብር ኣይትኽእልን ብስሩ። ምስ ዓወትና ኩሉ እቲ ንሕና ሕነ ክንፈይዶ ኢና ኩሉ እዚ ጥልጥል የብለና ኣብዚ እቲ ሕቶ የለን ኣይተቀረበን ግን ኣብ መጨረሻ እንታይ ክብል ዝደሊ ኣብ ትግራይ ፎክስ ጌርና እቲ ኩሉ ዶባት ባዕሉ ክስተካከል ይኽእል እዩ። ንሕና ኣብ ትግራይ ሓረ ምስ ወፀት ደን ምስ ካልኦት ርክብ ረብሓና ክንዛረብ ንኽእል ምስ ኤርትራ ይኹን ምስቲ ኣብ ኢትዮጵያ ዶባት ዘሎ ምሳና ሼር ዝገብሩ ዶብ ግን ኣብ ኤርትራ ምሳና ቀረባ ስለ ዝኾነት መጀመርያ እቲ ዋና ፀላኢና ኢሳያስ ክነጥፍእ ኣለና። ኣብ ኤርትራ ጥዑይ መንግስቲ ክፍጠር ኣሎ። ካብ መጀመርያ ናጽነት ምስ ረኸበት ኤርትራ ጥዑይ መንግስቲ ኣይረኸበትን ኣይሓነፀትን። ኢሳያስ ሰሪቆ ናይቲ ህዝቢ ድምፂ። ስለዚ እቶም ኣራዊት ሰራዊት ኣትዮም እዚ ኩሉ በደል ዝፈፅሙ ዘሎ ኣብ ትግራይ ብሕጊ ፍርዲ ቤት መዓልቶም ክመፅእ እዩ። እዚ ጥጥር ይብሉ ግን እቶም ጥዑያት ኤርትራውያን ምስ መፁ እቲ ናጽነት ዝነበረ ኣብ ተሰናሓደር ብኡ ክቆፅልሉ እዮም። ሓድሽ ኤርትራ ክበሃል ይኽእል እዩ። ግን ትግራዋይ እቲ ፀላኢና ክንድምስሶ ኣለና። ፀላኢ ከይትደምስሰ ናትና ቅፃልነት ይብልና ንሕና ናብቲ ዝነበረ ክምለስ እዩ። ስለዚ we have to finish the problem. I think one thing that we were unable to do during Melis's time, Melis didn't know his life would be cut so short and abruptly, but we let an enemy, live next door to us. We closed off an entire direction of the world. The north was completely shut off, and we said, you know what? We're going to act like nobody's to our north, and we're just going to focus on Ethiopia and to the south. And that's just not a good strategy. And we didn't work well with the Eritreans in removing Isaias. So it's Isaias' dictatorship consequently affected us today. So by not solving that problem, we're left today with solving that problem. So going forward, we have to understand that, what Isaias and his troops have done is, in our history, we've never seen it before. They're not considered human beings. And we have to have a response for all of that, for all the things that they've stole, for all the people that they've killed. They have to answer to all that. That is for sure. That goes without question. Doesn't matter if we call them Eritreans, doesn't matter if we call them animals, it doesn't really matter. But the North and Eritrea being our immediate neighbor there, that is the number one problem we need to solve. And once we solve that one, then it opens up, the border between Sudan and Tigray, and our supply route is there. Ethiopia having a healthy government, we won't have any problem there. Afar to the west, to the east, has never been a problem historically. And then the people to the south, which we know are Amharas. It doesn't matter if it takes 50 years, 100 years. It really doesn't matter. If we have the East, Sudan, the North, the Western with Sudan, the Northern border with Eritrea, and the Eastern border with Afar taken care of, then Tigray can, continue on and be an independent country. But
so I think so. Let me. I might have to throw some Tigray at some point there, but let me just point
go
out.
on. دحان أنا just حطه سلا زي نبرة سلا حسابي طريق كون عالكالن لكن دحان قتل بترينا.
I get it. So there's a person who was curious. I just put the kind of he's wondering, or she, what would happen if they're both in Tagara and Amhara. Well, I'm going to respond to this person like directly. Someone like you, if you stand for justice, if you believe in human rights, respect people, human rights, come. We'll embrace you. We'll take you. We are Tagaro. We don't hate people. We defend our right for our existence. And we do not accept Leibana Banda. حقنا زلوا ኣብ ትግራይ ካብ 100,000 ንላዕሊ ኤርትራውያን መፅኦም ኣብ ትግራይ ብሰላም እዮም ይቕመጡ ነይሮም ምሳና ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ርዮሞ እዮም መንነቱ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ስለዚ ኤርትራ ተጋሩ ተሓዋዊስኩም ዘለኹም ኣምሓሩ ተጋሩ ተሓዋዊስኩም ዘለኹም ትግራይ መሬት ትግራይ ህዝቢ ኣብ ጎንኹም እዩ ትግራይ መሬት ዓድኹም ክኾን ይኽእል እዩ ባንዳታት ተኾንኩም ግን ትረግፅዎ መሬት የለን እየ ትግራይ the strategy, the tactic that you talked about, what Meles did after the war with Eritrea, nothing was perfect. I think his logic was you declare no war because the war originally was not about a border. It was about currency. It was about market manipulation and so many things from Isaias Afwerki. There's deep politics behind it than what people see when they read something as an article. So it's not like Meles didn't want to make peace or resolve the crisis, but he saw that more and more human lives would have lost. I was critical of him back then when they were about within 30 kilometer within Asmara to go in. At that time, I had to see Mesfin actually a few weeks ago on this show had the Ethiopian armed forces back then enter Asmara and overthrew like Isaias. The Eritrean people have not agreed on that and respected that because at that time, most Eritreans supported and respected Isaias Afwerki because he told them that he was going to make Eritrea the next Singapore in Africa. So they believed that. They did not know that he was going to hijack their fight that they bled for freedom. And the reason behind it is that Isaias Afwerki was among the early fighters, but prior to him becoming a fighter, he grew up when Eritrea was under the Italian colony. He's learned during that time how to lie, how to cheat, how to steal. So when you have a guy rises to run a country and all he knew was how to cheat, how to lie, and how to steal, you expect nothing less. It's just like the old saying, you can't teach an old dog a new trick. ዝኣረገ ከልቢ ሓድሽ ትምህርቲ ኣምሂርካ ናብ ሓድሽ መገዲ ክትእትዎ ትኽእልካ እዩ ትትርጉም ብትግርኛ
ግን ደበልካዮ ኣስመራ ቀሪቦም ኣትዮም ነይሮም ስለዚ እቲ ኩናት ተኸፊቱ ነይሩ ተቃሊሶም ብዙሕ ተሰዊኦም እና ኣስመራ ኣቲኻ ንምንታይ እቲ ብድሕሪኡ ዝገበሮ ስምዒት እሱ ዘይርዳእና ኮይኑ ምስ ኣብ ኩናት ምስ ዓርካ ንስኻ ትፅሑፎ እቲ ስምዒት مش ግን لمنታ ኣሓሊፉ ሂቡ بعد ما ገለ እቲ ክፈጽሞ ከሎ እሱ እዩ እቲ ፀገም ተፈጢሮ ይመስለኒ ኣብቲ መወዳእታ
of course ንስኮ ጉድለታት ነይሩ እዩ ኩልና ንቕበሎ ኢና ግን ኣብቲ መጨረሻ ሒዚ ግን ኣብዚ ሒዚ ተሰሪሑ እንሄ ኩናት ብምንም በቃ ዝጉዳእ ዘሎ ዝሳቐ ዘሎ ህዝቢ ትግራይ እዩ ብዓለም ምሩቕ ትሪኦ እንተለካ ግን ብበዝሒ ሒዚ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ካብ 70 እስካብ 80% ዝኾነ ኢሳያስ እንዲያው እስካብ 9% ዝኾነ ኣብ ኤርትራ ንኢሳያስ ዝድግፍ የለን እዩ እቶም ኣብ ስልጣን ዘለዉ ግን ብግዴታ ነቲ ጦር ሰራዊት እናገደዱ እዮም ዘብሉ ንኣብነት እዚ ኣብ ትግራይ ኣትዩ ክስተር ዘሎ ኤርትራ ወታደር ቀሊል ኣይኮነን ግን ከ ኤርትራ ሒዚ ብጥይት ተተወቂዖም ኤርትራውያን ኣብ ኩናት ተወቂዖም እንታይ እቲ ናይ ሻዕብያ መምርሒ ዘሎ ኣብ ሜዳ እናተቃለሱ ተወጉ ብጥይት ተወቅዑ ናይ ሻዕብያ ወታደር ከይተሕክምዎም ከይተምፅዎም ከይትምልስዎም እዩ እንታይ ዳ ኣብንተ ለውቁ ተድዎም እዚ ናርዩ
ሕልፊያት እቶም ሰራዊት ኣትዮም ኣብ ትግራይ ኣትዮም ዘለዉ ኤርትራውያን ሰራዊት ተገዲዶም ድዮም እዚ ኩሉ በደል ዘብፅሑ ዘለዉ
ንሳቶም ሓደ ብፕሮፓጋንዳ ብሕሶት ኣብቲ ትሬን ክወሃብ እንተለዉ ኣብቲ ናይ ሰሙን ክልተ ሰሙን በተለይ ሒዝ እና ካብ በረኻ ሃገረሰብ ዝምፅዎም ዘለዉ ናይ ታዮም ትግራይ በቃ ትግራይ ህዝቢ ንኣና ከጥፈአና እዩ ንኣና ክሓርደና እዩ እንድሕር ዘጥፊኡና እዮ
ሞ ኣነ እንታይ ዝብለካ ዘለኹ ኣብ ከምቲ ድበልካዮ ኣብ ኤርትራ እቲ ህዝቢ ተኮይኑ ደገፍቲ ናይ ኢሳያስ ኣይኮኑን እዮም ኣያምንን ኣነ ግን ካብቶም ሰራዊት እና እቶም ኣብ ስልጣን ዘለዉ ምስኡ ንሶም ኩሎም ብምሎም ደገፍቲ ናይ ኢሳያስ ክኾኑ እዮም ክኾኑ ኣለዎም ስለምንታይ
እቶም ሓሙሽተ ጀነራል ኮሪሃዮም ዶ ተቐቲሎም እኮ ኮሮና ቫይረስ ቀቲልዎም ኢሉ ኣብ ትግራይ መፅኦም እኮ እቶም ሓሙሽተ ናይ ቀደም ናይ ሻዕብያ ተጋደልቲ ዝነበሩ እኮ ሓሙሽተዮም እኮ በቃ ኣለዉ ዝበሃል እኮ በቃ ሕዚ እኮ ሻዕብያ ንባዕሉ እኮ ሂዚ ዋላ ዕጥቂ ሒዝዎ ኣለወ ተዳኺሙ እኮ ሂዚ እኒሄ ታተድልየና ግን ሕዚ እንታይ እያ ንሕና
ሕጂ
ኤርትራውያን ንፈልጦ ኢና ኤርትራውያን ከዓ ይፈልጡ እዮም እዚዩ ኣምሓራ ንቀደም ንትግራይ ከድክም ዓቕሚ ተረኺቡ ንትግራይ ዳኺሙ ግን ፅባሕ ንጎ ዘይሩ ንዓሰብ ከመይ ገርና ኤርትራ ኣቲና ንሕድግ እዩ ካሊእ ይኮነ ምስሩ ኣምሓራማ ዝፍክርዎን ዝጉረይዎን ቀሊል ከይመስለካ ግን ኤርትራውያን ሕዚ እንታይ ተረዲዎም ዘሎ ቀደም ኣይተረድኦም ነይሩ ብደንቢ ሕዚ እንታይ ተረዲዎም ዘሎ ህዝቢ ትግራይ መሬት ናይ ትግራይ ይደሊ ናይ ኤርትራ ይደሊ ባሕሪ ተስማዕሚዕካ ብስነ ስርዓት ተኸባቢርካ ክልቲኡ ሃገር ክትቆመሉ ይኽእል እዩ
እወ ናብቲ ኮሜንት ክምለስ ደልየ ግን ምስቲ ትብሎ ዘለካ ሕጂ ዝተኣሳሰረ ነገር እዩ ትግራዋይ ዝደሊ እወ ናይ ሰብ መሬት ክወስድ ኣይደልን ክመሓዳድሮ ኣይደልን እዩ ትግራዋይ ዝደሊ ሕጊ ጥዑይ መንግስቲ መርሕነት ጥዑይ ኢኮኖሚ ስለዚ ኣብ ኤርትራ ጥዑይ መንግስቲ ክህሉ ኣሎ ጥዑይ ኢኮኖሚ ክፈጥር ይኽእል እዩ ድሕሪ እቲ መንግስቲ ምስ መፀ እና ኣብ ኣምሓራ the same thing ብኖርት ብሳውት ኩሉ ከምዚ ክኾን ኣሎ ምእንቲ ቅፃልነት ምእንቲ ትግራዋይ ምእንቲ እቲ ኩሉ ሪጅን ምእንቲ ጥዑይ ክኸውን ንሕና ፅልኣት የብልናን ምስ በታሪክና ወይ ሎሚ ፅልኢት የብልናን ምስ ኤርትራ ምስ ኣምሓራ የብልና ንሳቶም ክፀልኡና ይኽእሉ እዮም እንድዒ ንሕና ድገብርናዮ ነገር የለን
ምስ ኣምሓራማ በቃ ከፊቶም ሞት ኩናት ሓደ ግዜ ኩናት ከፍተካ ተለኮ ሂዝማ ፀላእትና ቁፅሪ ሓደ ዓለምማ መንዲዳ ሂዚ ኣምሓራ ይኮዩ ካልእ ኮይኮነ ኣማ
ግን ንሕና በታሪክና ተመፅኻ ወይ ሎሚ ፅልኣት ይብልናን ዋላ ከምዚ እንዳገብሩና ክንሽንፎም ኢና we're gonna beat them but after we beat them we're not ታይሽም የለን ቂም የለን ቂም የለን ፅልኢ የለን just ክንነብር ኢና ከም ትግራይ ከም ሃገር ክንነብር ኢና ምስ ኣምሓራይ ንግዲ ክንገብር ንኽእል ዝኾነ ክንገብር ንኽእል ግን ብምሎም ብምሉእ ምነፍስና ኣይንኣምኖም ኣይመስለኒ ድሕሪ ይመስለኒ ግን ፅልኣት ኣይንሰብኽን ዘለና ፅልኢ ኣይንሰብኽን ዘለና
ኣይኮነ ፅና ምስ ኤርትራ እወ ምስ ኤርትራ ምስ ኦሮሞ ምስ ዓፋር ምስ ካልእ ሃገራት እንተይልካ ይቕበል እየ ምስ ኣምሓራ ግን ስማዕ እዞም ኣምሓራና ሃይና እንታይ እዩ ሽሙን ባዕሉ እቲ you see how it rhymes ኣምሓራና ሃይና ዝብል ምንታይ እዩ ኣዛብ ንምንታይ እዮም ጎኒ ጎኒ ዝኸዱ
ከይበላዕልዑ
እወ ምክንያቱ ኣይተኣማመንን ሓደ ዝብል ብድሕሪት ኮይኑ ነቲ ቅድሚ ዘሎ ክበልዖ ይኽእል እዩ
እሞ እዚ ፈሊጥና ክንስዖ ኣይግባእናን ዳስ ኦኬ
ንሕና እንታይ እዩ ትግራይ እንታይ እዩ ዘልያ ድሕሪ ሒዚ መጀመርታ ዝኩናት ሒዚ ጠጠው ክብል ከም ዘለዎ ሒዚ ለምቅነ በተለይ ብዙሕ ቦታ ናይ ትግራይ ዲፈንስ ፎርስ ሒዞም ነይሩ እዮም ሻዕብያን ባዕሎም ሒዚ ኣብ እኒ ብዓድዋ ሃገረሰብ ወፂኻ ዘሎ በረኻታት ገንደፍታ ዝበሃል ናይ እኒ እንታይ ኢኻ ዝብሎ እዚ ድብድቦ ብዙሕ ብዙሕ በቃ ንፈረስ ማይ ክኸዱ ኢሎም ኣብኡ ክንደይ ተቐጥቂጦም እዮም ኣብ ዓድዋ ከተማ ውፅኢልካ ንባዕሉ ካብ 20,000 ንላዕሊ ናይ ኣምሓራ ወታደር እስካብ ሒዚ ዝቐብሮ ስኢኑ ሒዚ በቃ ሒዚ ዝገርመካ ክንደይ እኒሄ እዩ ወታደር ረይሳ በቃ ፈቆደ በረኻታት ኣብቲ መፂኦም ክዋግኡ ኢሎም በቃ እኒ ደብረፅዮን በቃ ብዙዮም ዘለዉ ኢሎም ናብ ሓደ በረኻ ይወፁ ኣይፈልጥዎን ነቲ ሃገረሰብ ህዝቢ በበይኒ ከይብልዎም ብዙ ክኢሉ ኢልዎም እቶም ናትና ከዓ ምፅእ ኢሎም እንተለዉ ናድሃኹ ሒዚ እቶም ሻዕብያን ባዕሎም ጨኒቑዎም እዩ እኒሄ መውፅኢ ባይ ዘ ወይ እዚ ክፍለጥ ዘለዎ ሓቅነት ንሶም ንባዕሎም ሒዚ ኩሉ በቃ ዋላ ፀማም ሰብ በተለይ እንተሪኦም ከምኡ ገይሩ ንሱ በቃ ታሽሙ እዩ ናይ ትግራይ ወታደር እዩ ቅተልዎ እዩ ዝኒሄሎም እዩ እዚ ግን
ትርጉም ዘይብሉ ሞት ይሞቱ ኣሎ ሕጂ
እወ ሒዚ ግን
ናፅነት እምበር እዚኣቶም እንታይ ረብሓ ኣለዎ እዚ ኩናት
እወ ሒዚ ግን ሪኢኻ ኣምሓሩ አንተ ብእንግሊዝኛ ምስ ናይ ኣሜሪካ KKK እና ኣብ ኢትዮጵያ ዝኔው KKK መን እዮም ተልካ ኣምሓሩ እዮም ምክንያቱ ንኦሮሞ ኣየኽብሩን ንተጋሩ ኣየኽብሩን ንዓፋር ኤርትራ ኻነየ ዓሰብ ስለ ዝሓዝዋ ዓሰብ መሬትና እያ ባህረና እያ ንስእዚኦምማ ድቃስ ሪኢኻ ብሕልሞም ይሓልሙ ዶ ይሓድሩ ብዙሕ ነገር በቃ ከምዚ ተኣሽሞ መሲልዎም ተሲኦም ካብ ዓራት ክሪኡ ተለዉ ኻነየ ኩሉ ነገር ዝሓለምዎ ብጋህዲ መሲልዎም ይፀንሕሞ ካብ ምድቃሶም ተሲኦም ገፆም ብርሓፂ ዝፈስስ ድሕራይ ከዓ ኣምሓራ እስቲ ኣምሓራ ሲ ተዋጊኦም ኣብ ምንታይ ውግእ ኣሸኒፎም ይፈልጡ
የለን ኣብ ታሪክ
ኣብ ምንታይ ተደሊኻ ኮ ናይ ኤርትራ ህዝብና ናይ ትግራይ ህዝቢ ተዋጊኡ ከም መንግስቲ ሃይለማርያም ወታደር በዝሒ ከም መንግስቲ ሃይለማርያም ዕጥቂ በዝሒ ዝሓዘ ኮ መንግስቲ እኮ ይነበረን እዩ ግን እንደምንም ኢሎም ህዝቢ ትግራይና ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ብሓደ ኮይኑ ደምሲሱ ኣጥፊዎ እዩ ዕሽነት ግን ቀደም ነበረ ተመሰካ ናይ ሓደ ኤርትራውያን ዘይርድኦም ዝነበሩ ሒዙ ዝርድኦም ዘሎ እንታይ ኣለ መስለካ ኤርትራውያን ቅድመና ብዙሕ ዓመታት ቃልሲ ካይዶም እዮም ኣብቲ ቃልሶም ግን ብዙሕ ቦታ ናይ ኤርትራ ይሓዙን ብዙሕ ድማ ዘሸነፍዎ ኣይነበረን እዩ ወያነ ምስተባሃለ ግን ወያነ ምስተሰት ግን ወያነ እንታይ እዩ ነይሩ ጉራ ናይ ሓደ እቶም ኤርትራውያን ታሽም በቃ ዝመስሉ ንወያነ ንሕና ኢና ምሄርና እያ እዮም ይብሉ ነይሮም እስካብ ሒዝማ ንትግራይ ስኢ በይና እንተኮይና ብፅፍርና ክነጥፋ ንኽእል ኢና እዮም ዝፍክሩ ነይሮም እዚ ህዝብና ክፈልጦ ኣለዎ ክርድእ ኣለዎ እዚኡ you have to know the history እዚኡ ኢምፖርታንት ዝኾነ እዩ ሒዚ ግን እንታይ ኮይኖም እወ ምክንያቱ ሪኢኻ እሞ ተማይንዶም ንትግራይ ስኢ በይና ትግራይስ ብዘይካ ኢትዮጵያስ ሓይሊ የብላን ኢሎም ኤርትራውያን ባዕሎምማ ተቐቢሎም እዮም ፀኒሖም እዚ ወቐስ ኣይኮነን ሓቅነት እዩ ኤርትራውያን ሰምዑ ዘለኹም ኣሕዋት ሓቅነት ተቐበልዋ ሓቅነት ኣይተብልዋ ኣይተዘባብዕዋ ኣምሓራ እዩ ዝሕሱ ኣምሓራ እዩ ዝጉረ ህዝቢ ኤርትራማ ተቐቢልናዮ መፅኡ ምሳና ጎኒ ጎና ኮይኑ ብትግራይ ተቐሚጡ እዩ ሒዝም እኒሄ እዩ ካሊእ ትረፍ ኣብ ጎኒ መንግስቲ ትግራይ ኣብ ጎኒ ወታደር ትግራይ ኮይኖም ኤርትራውያን እኔው እዮም በቃ ብድልዮቶም በቃ ሒዙ ዝዋግኡ ኤርትራውያን እኔው እዮም ማዓት በቃ ማዓት 10,000 ኤርትራውያን ንኣብነት ኣብ መቐለ ዝነበሩ ተሲኦም ኣዋግኡና ኢሎም እዮም ቅድሚ ሒዚ ንውዑ በቃ ትግራይ ስኢ ትግራይ ንሕተ ደፊራ ትግራይ ንሕተ ወቂዓ ንሕና ተወቂና ንሕና ተደፊርና ስለ ዝኾነ ኣለና ኢና ምስ ተጋሩ ኣሕዋትና ኢሎም ተሲኦም እዮም እቶም ናይ ቀደም ስኢሎም እቶም 5 ጀነራል ተቆተሉ ከምኦም እውን ስኢሎም ዘይረሑ ዝነበሩ ኤርትራውያን ግን ንተጋሩ ንሕና ኢና ምሂርና እዮም ውትድርና ንሕና ኢና ከላሽን ምትኳስ أخيرنا يوم ناولي يوم يزارون نيرو السؤال كزيل بقى عين خذ يتريو البيت أيدخل النخا نمتى
እንታይ ንብል ኣለና ሎሚ ምስ ኤርትራ ሓንቲ ሃገር ክንከውን ኣይበልናን ታሪክ እንተ ከኣምንዎ እንተደልዮም እንተዘይደልዩ ናታቶም ፀገም ክኾን ይኽእል እዩ ግን ንሕና
ዝፀንሐ እዩ ዝለክ ኣለኹ ንሱ ኮ ነው ሃገር ኮ ኤርትራ ትግራይ ሓንቲ ሃገር ክነብራ ዝብል ኮ የብለን እንታ ዝበልኳ ኣይሓስካኒ ዘለካ ናይ ቀደም ታሪክ ዝፀንሐ ዝለካ ኣለኹ ኤርትራውያን ዝብልዎ ነበሩ ትግራይ ሲ በቃ ንሕና ኢና ነምህሮም ቃልሲ ንሕና ኢና ኩሉ ጌርና ኣቢልናዮም ኢሎም ንዕቀት እውን ይርኢና ኤርትራውያን ይብለካ ኣለኹ እዚ ከዓ ብሕሶት ብዘየለ ባይታ ደካ ትግራይ በቃ ብዘይካ ኢትዮጵያ ደካማ እያ እናበሉ ዝዛረቡ ኤርትራውያን ኣብቲ ስደት ዘለዎ ኮነ ኣብ ዓዲ ነይሮም እዮም ሕዚ ግን ምስክር በዓላ መልሲ ኮ ረኺቦም ሕዚ
እሱ እዩ ዝብለካ ዘለኹ ሎሚ ተሓቂ
ወጣት ተባዕሉ هو ምክንያቱ
ኣርባዕተ ሃገራት ጠጠው ኢልና ንቃለስ ኣለና እንጂ ሎሚ እቲ ናይ ሎሚ ቃልሲ ፍልይ ዝበለት እያ ቀደም ምስ ደርጊ ክንቃለስ ከለና ምስ ናይ ምስ ሻዕብያ ኮይና ተቃሊስናዮም ክበሃል ይኽእል እዩ ኣብ ታሪክ ንሶም ሓጊዞምና ንሕና ሓጊዞም ንሕና ሓጊዝናዮም ይበሃል እዩ ትርኢ ትኽእል ኣብ ታሪክ ቤና ኣይኮንናን ተዋጊና ሎሚ ግን ፍልይ ዝበለ ሻዕብያ የለን እምበር ሻዕብያ ዋና ፀላኢ ኮይኑ ምስ ሻዕብያ ምስ ደርግ ምስ ናይ ሎሚ ዘሎ ምስ ናይ ብሄር ኣምሃራ ምስ ድሮን ናይ ዓረብ ምስ 5-6 ዝኾነ ሰራዊት ንቃለስ ኣለና ሎሚ እዚ እዩ እቲ ሓቂ እቲ ናይ ቀደም እዚ ሓጊዝናዮ ገለገለ ብሎሚ ተፈሊጡ ሕጂ እቲ ሓቂ ኮነ በተግባር
ግን ካልእ እዚ ዘይተረጋገፀሉ መን ይሄ መስለካ ዘይተዋሓጠሉ እዚ እዚ ኣብ ኤርትራውያን ጥያቄ የለን ባይዘወይ እዚ ግን እቲ ደደብ ዝኾነ ደደብ ዝበሃል በአምሓርኛ ማለት ስቁኢሉ መንፈስ ዘይፈልጥ ኣምሓራይ
ተርፉ እዮም
እዞም ደደባት ኣምሓሩ ኣነ ቀደም ቆልዓ ኮይነ በቃ ናብ ሱዳን ቅድሚ እታወይ እንታይ ይግበር ነይሩ መስለካ ኣብ ትግራይ ኣምሓሩ በቃ መፅኦም ገዛውቲ ክፍትሽ እንተለው ሓተላ ናይ ስዋ ሓተላ ኣብቲ ገዛ በቃ ተን ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ማይ ይሓውሳሉ ብዙሕ ማይ ሓዊሰን ንእሽተይ ስዋ ናይ ፅራይ ገለ ተነይሩ ሕውሱ ሰቢለን እናቀድሓ እንተሂቦኖም ስቲ ኣቢሎም በቃ ታሽሙ ኮይኖም ይወፁ ነይሮም ሕዚ ከዓ ንሄ ፀገም እንታይ እዩ ኣብቲ መጀመርታ እቲ ናይ ኣምሓራ ምልሻ እቲ ናይ ኣምሓራ እዩ ኩሉ ህዝብና ዝቆተሎ ዝሓረዶ ሕዚ ከዓ ነየ እንታይ እዩ ንሄ ናይ ኤርትራ ምእታዊ እዩ ናይ ኤርትራ ወታደር እዩ ህዝብና ዝሓረዶ ዘሎ ናይ ኤርትራ ወታደር ሕዚ ሕማቅ ስቃይ ዘካይድ ዘሎ ትግራይ ኣብ መቐለ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ወታደር እዩ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ጥኑሳት ተይቀረየ ካብ ከተማ እናውፅእ ሃገረሰብ ዝደፍርዎን ዘለዉ እቲ ህዝቢ ዝሕረር ዘሎ ዝቕተል ዘሎ ግን ብኤርትራ ናይ ሻዕብያ ወታደር እዩ እቶም ኣምሓሩ ኣብቲ መጀመርታ መፅኦም ከማ ጀሚሮም እቶም ናትና ግን ናይ ትግራይ ዲፈንስ ፎርስ ድሂኾም ተጨርሾም እዮም ስለዚዩ ኣምሓሩ እኳን ፀማማት እንኳን ትግርኛ ንሕና ከተዛሪና ሰምዑና ሲ ብናቶም ቋንቋ ረዲእና እዮም ኣይርድኦምን እዩ ምክንያቱ ንሳቶም መዋዕልቶም ከም ዘለካ በቃ ናይ ኣሜሪካ ሰንፕል ዝሃብኮ አንቶ ከይከይ ማይንዶም ሰት ዝኾነ ስለ ዝኾነ እዩ ናይ ዓድና ምሳሌ ቀደም ወለድና ዝብልዎ ኣሎ ኣብይ ኣሕመድ ድማ ሒዚ ሓደ ነገር ተማሂርዎ ዘሎ ካብ ኢሳያስ ኩርኩር እዩ ናይ ኢሳያስ ተረዲእኳ ሒዚ ኩርኩር እንታይ ዝገብር በቃ ናብ በቃ ምክትታል እዩ እምበር ቅድሚት ከይዱ መሪሑ ዝርድኦ መገዲ የለን ምስ ኣድግያ ዝወዓለ ዝራቢዕ ኢሎም ካ ህላ እንተዘይለመደ ጥራጥ ለመደ ይጌታ ስለዚሁ እዚ እዩ ናይ ኣብይ ኣሕመድ ደካማ እዩ ኣብይ ኣሕመድ ማለት ድማ ንሱ ንባዕሉ ሒዚ ኣእምሩ እማ 2% ይጥቀመሉ ዘሎ በቃ ናብ ኣያታቱ ናብ ጌታቸው ረዳ ይብል ነይሩ እዩ ሓንቲ ነገር ተልያ ንመንሽሙ ንኢሳያስ ኣፈወርቂ እንታይ ክገብር ዘለኒ ከመይ ገይረ እዮም ተጋሩ እዚኦም ምስ ከጥፍእ ከም ዘለኒ ኢሳያስ አፈወርቂ ካነየ ኣብ ኣስመራ 30 ዓመት ንህዝቢ ኤርትራ ጨቁይኑ ናይ ሕወሓት ናይ ቀደም ዝፈልጣ ነበረን ሒዝ እንታይ በፂሕና ዘለና ሰልጢና ዘለና ቅንኢ ሓሪሩ እዩ እዚኦም ምስ ከመይ ገይሮም እዮም ናይ ሓሊፎምኒ ኣነ ናይ ኢታልያውያን ሸሓነ ዘልምፅ ዝነበርኩ ጉሒላ ሰሪቀ ሓስየ ጭበርብረ ስልጣን ሒዘ እዚኦም ከ ብሓይሎም ብቅልፅሞም ተማሂሮም ንህዝቦም ዘምህሩ ዘለዉ ሃገሮም ሰማይ ኣብፅሕማ እኒኦ ከመይ ገይሮም እዮም ኢሉ ቅንኢ እዩ ዝኩሉ ዘምፅኦ ዘሎ
ብጣዕሚ
ካልእ
በቲ ዶብና ኣምሓራ ማለት እዩ እዚኣቶም ምሳቶም ክንሕወስ ኣይንኽእልን ኣዋ ተረዲኒ ክንሕወስ ኣይግበአናን
እስማል ኢኻ ምስ መምሃር ኢኻ
ግን ኣይ ኖ ተረዲኒ ካብኡ ድሕሪኡ ሰለስተ ዶባት ኣለና እቲ ምስራቅን ምዕራብን ሱዳንን ዓፋር እዚኣቶም ግደፎም ምስ ኤርትራ ኣብ ኤርትራ ለውጢ ክመፅእ ዘለዎ እንታይ እዩ ሓድሽ ኤርትራ ብሙሉኣ ክትሕድስ ኣለዋ
ጥያቄ ይብሉ እኮ እዩ ጥያቄ ይብሉ ኤርትራ እኮ ባዕሉ ህዝቢ ግን ባዕሉ ክትስ ኣለዎ
ማዕኒ በቲ ሻዕብያ ታሪክ ብስሩ ሓንቲ ኩራዕ ዝኽእል ነገር ይብሎምን ስለምንታይ እቲ ዝነበረ ታሪክ ጅጋኑ ኤርትራውያን ብሎሚ ዝግበር ዘሎ ብስሩ ይጠፍእ ትደምሲሱ ንደርጊ ክቃልሱ ክስዕሩ ናፅነት ክወፅኡ ዝገብርዎ ኩሉ ሎሚ ሜሾም ምስ ደርጊ ጠጠው ኢሎም ምስ ኣምሓሩ ጠጠው ኢሎም ይዋግኡ ኣሎ ኣብ ሱዳን ይኹን ኣብ ትግራይ ይኹን ምስ ግብፂ እውን ክዋግኡ እዮም ቀሪቦም ኣለው ብጣዕሚ ታሪኮም ደምሲሶም ኣባሊሾሞ ሕጂ እንታይ ሽሙ ክሕድስ ኣሎ ብምሉእ ክሕድስ ኣሎ ናይ ኤርትራ በኤርትራ ወገን እቲ ብድሕሪ ናፅነት ካብ 91 ጀሚሮም እንታይ ተገይሩ ኣብ ኤርትራ እንታይ ኣሎ እንታይ ዝተሓነፀ እቲ ኸድካ ትሪኢኻዮ የውሓተይ ይኸዱ እዮም ኩሉ ሻዕ እቲ ዘሎ ፎቃት ናይ ብኢጣልያን ዝተሰርሐ እዩ እና መንግስቲ የለን ኮንስቲቱሽን የለን ወላ ሓንቲ የለን ስለዚ በኤርትራ ወገን ኩሉ ካብ ታሕቲ ጀሚርካ ኩሉ ፋውንዴሽን መሰረትኡ ኩሉ ክሕደስ ኣለዎ እቲ ናይ ሻዕብያ ታሪክ ዝነበረ ጅግነት ናበይ ኸድ it's gone because today they've decided to side with the enemy that they defeated the enemy is back now they have their flags in Asmara they have their soldiers at the bases like what was the war then about the war during the Cold War up until the 91 what was it about if you're just gonna erase history again you know and you're gonna side with the enemy when you have your brothers and sisters in Tigray you know your actual brothers and sisters the Eritreans in the camp and your brothers and sisters Tagarus
but they got it though Eritreans got it because you know why
yeah I know there's a lot that get it but what needs to happen in Eritrea is a new government you can call it
well no we but that's not nobody's disputing that though but you got to remember
I know but that's what I'm saying that's what's going to happen and then on the south we don't really I mean there's not a lot of I personally and I know you wouldn't I don't recommend mixing with these people I would be very cautious
which people the Amhara I'm assuming he's saying
what I'm saying I would be very cautious doing economic activity with them forget
with Amhara
yeah
oh no we're gonna you know what we're gonna build a wall man we're gonna build a wall to like just like stay the hell away from them
but let me tell you
you know what kind of wall that is though you know what kind of wall we're gonna build
one that has electrocutable fences
no
what
nope I'm talking about military wall
yeah I totally agree
we're gonna rebuild you know our military is gonna get rebranded
Mike is that you know ቅድሚ እዚ ቃልሲ ከይተዓወጀን ከሎ ይፍክሩ ነይሮም እቶም ተፈናቂሎም ምሽ ቅድሚ 2 ዓመት ብዙሓት ካብ ኣምሃራ ተጋሩ ተፈናቂሎም ትግራያትዮም ነይሮም ብድሕሪኡ ክንደይ ሻዕ ኣብ ዶብና መፅዮም እቲ ኣምሃራ ሚሊሻ ክፍክሩ ክንደይ ሻዕ ሞኪሮም ግን ሓይሊ ኣይነበሩን ናይ ኤርትራ ሰራዊት ምስ መፀ እና ምን ይሽሙ ዓቢ ኣሕመድ ናይቲ ሃገር ሰራዊት ምስ መፀ እዞም ኩሎም ናይ ዓረብ ምስ መፀ ሽዑ እዮም ብኮንፈረንስ ገይሮም ኣትዮም ትግራይ ግን ኤርትራ ሰራዊት ምስ ሓንቲ ሃገር ተኮይናና like if the fight was just against Eritreans it wouldn't have happened if the fight was just against Ethiopia it wouldn't have happened. It was that's what I'm saying is we don't really need a big army on the southern front because
no. Okay. That's where I'm going to disagree with you. But I'm going to respond to it in Tigrinya. So I think መብዛሕቱ ሰምዐና ዘሎ ሒዚ ሰብ ብትግርኛ ይሰምዐና ዘሎ ብቋንቋም ተዛሮም ዝናወሉ ይጽሕፉ ኣለዉ. So we're going to try that. But we're going to keep it like in everybody. So if we have people that don't understand it like Tigrinya, we're going to keep it going too.
And that's a
أوه ግን ድሕሪ ሒዚ ይብለካ ንሕና ምስ ማንም ሰብ ብኽብሪን ብፍቕርን ንነብረሉ ሰብ ናይ ዓፋር ህዝቢ ፀገም ከም ዘይብልና ኣሚንና ኢና ንፈልጥ ኢና ናይ ኤርትራ ህዝቢ እቲ መንግስቲ ኣይኮነ ዝብለካ ኣለኹ ህዝቢ ምሳና ፀገም ዘይብሉ ምዃንና ብሰላም ክነብር ድልየት ከም ዘለዎ እዚኡ ኦልሬዲ ጥያቄ የብሉን ኣብ ኤርትራ ከም ዝበልካ ኢኻ እቲ መንግስቲ ቅየር ከም ዘሎ ታዩ ኤርትራ ህዝቢ ንባዕሉ ብድልየቱ ክኾነ ኣለዎ ኣብኡ ንሕና ንሕግዞ ንህዝቢ ኤርትራ ብናቱ ድልየት ግን ሓግዙና ዝብሉና ዋላ መሬት ትግራይ መፅኦም ቃል ሰምዑ እናሰልጠኑ ንኽቃለሱ ክኽፈት ኣለዎ ምስ ሱዳን ፀገም ከም ዘይብልና ካብ ቀደምና ንፈልጦ ኢና እዚ ጥያቄ የብሉን ንሱ ዘጠራጥር ማ ኣይኮነን ስለዚሁ እታ ተሪፋ ዘላ እንታይ እያ እዞም KKK ዝበሃሉ ኣምሓሩ ደደብ ዝኾኑ ደደባት
ብጣዕሚ
ፀማማት ንዘብልዖም ንዘፅገቦም መቐለ ሓንቲ ግዜ ከይዶም ሪኦም ዘይፈልጡ ብ2005 አንተ ዝበልክዎ በአምሓርኛ ዝበልዎ ትግሬ ወደ መቀሌ ንብረታችን ወደ ቀበሌ ማለት ከምዚ ንሃቶም ሃፍቲ ካብ አዲስ አበባ ተሰሪቁ ኢሎምስ ተጋሩ ካብ አዲስ አበባ ወፂኦም ናብ መቀሌ ይኸዱ ናብ ትግራይ ይኸዱ እዩ ኣብ ትግራይ ዘሎ ሃፍቲ ንሃትና ሰረቅዎ ናባና ይመልስዎ እዩ ኣብ ትግራይ ግን እንኳን ተሰረቀሲ ዝኩሉ ቃልሲ ተኻይዱ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ንባዕሉ ጠቅሙ እኳ ኣይተጠቀመን ነይሩ ንምንታይ እቶም ንሃትና ንባዕሎም ተቃለሱ ህዝቢ ኢትዮጵያ ሙሉእ ከምዚ ከይሓምየና ሕማቅ ነገር ከየውፅና ኢሎም ንኣምሓራን ንኦሮሞን ንኻሊእ ህዝቢ ሃገር እዮም ንሓገዙ ፀኒሖም እቶም ናትና ኣብኡ ድማ ጥፋት ከም ዝኾነ ኣሚኖም ኣረዲኦም ህዝብና ተመሊሶም ግን the last 3 years እንታይም ገይሮም ትግራይ ኣልሚዖማ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ኣረዲኦም ተቐቢልዎም በቃ ስለዚ ንሕና ትስሕተት ዓንተው ለነበርካማ ትክክለኛ እዩ እንስየ ብርሃ ክንደይ ተናዲዶም ኣነ የስታውስየ 99 ማለት ናይ 10 ዓመት የመጀመርታ ኢትዮጵያ ኸይደ ብዚስ ገይረ ኣዲስ አበባ ንባዕሉ ሂዚ ረሳሕ እዩ ነይሩ እዚ እንታይ ዘምህረካ ኣዲስ አበባ ብዙሕ ሰብ ዘለዎ እዩ ግን መብዛሕትኡ ኣዲስ አበባ ኣምሓሩ ኣፎም እዩ በሊሕ እምበር ብተግባሮም እኮ ብስራሕ እንተበልካ ለይዝታት እዮም ብፅሬት ተበልካ ረሳሓት እዮም ኣፎም ንባዕሉ በቃ ብዘይካ ምቅብጣር ይኽእሉ እዮም ባይዘ ወይ ከምዚ ኣለውካ ከምዚ በቃ ኣለዋልካ ታይን ከምዘን ዘይረውሑ ኣብዚ ክዛረቡ የደለ ይኹን እምበር ስኢሎም የቃጥሉ እዮም በቃ ኣፎም ከም ፀዓዱ እስካብ ዝሓርዱካ እስካብ ዝቐትሉካ ሕማቅ ዘረባ ይወፅምን እዩ ንሕና ተጋሩ እንድሕር ሒዚ እዚ ነገር ከነ ኢልና ሒዝና ተረዲእና ናይ ዝብኢ ምሳሌ ዝጣልካ አንተው ምዝ እዩ በቃ ኣምሓራይ ድሕሪ ሒዝማ ክንኣምኖ የብልና ከይድና ንቅተሎ ከይድና ንጉዳእዮ ይበልኩን ኣነ ኣምሓራይ ከኣምን ዝኾነ ትግራዋይ ግን ትግራዋይ ምዃኑ ረሲዑ እዩ በቃ ትግራዋይ ፅሩይ ትግራዋይ ግን ድሕሪ ሒዚ ነምሓራይ ከኣምን ድሕሪ ሒዚ ምስ ኣምሓራይ ጎረቤት ኮይኑ ጎኑ ክነብረሉ ዝኽእል መገዲ ብቅልፅምና ብሓይልና እዩ ስለንስ እየ ዝለካ ወታደር ብዙሕ የለያ ትብል ዘለካ ወታደር እምበር የለየና ሒዚ እኮ ስማ ከምዚ ፀገም ይመፀና እዩ ኢልና ተንሓስበሉ ነርና ቅድመ ኣቢልና ብበዝሒ ትግራይ ውትድርና ኣትዩ ፀኒሑ ተዝኸውን ተዘጋጅዩ ተዝኸውን ነይሩ እኮ እዚ 500,000 ወታደር መፅኡ እኒሄ ብሓደ ግዜ ተደምሲሱ መሬት ትግራይ ኣይምተረገፀትን ነይራ ንቐፃሊ እውን ማንም ጎረቤት መፅኡ ንትግራይ ክደፍራ ክትንክፋ ኣይኽእልን እዩ እቲ ንደቂ ኣንስትዮ ተደፊሮን ዝኒዋ ናይ ትግራይ ንብረት ጠፊኡ ዝኒሄ ኸዓኒ ሒዚ ንሶ ኣይኮነን ዘብለና እቲ ህዝብና ዝጎድእዎ ዘለዉ ህዝብና ዝመውት ዘሎ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ኣሕዋትና ዝድፈራ ዘለዋ እዩ ዘናደን ዘሎ ኣነ ሒዚ
ኣነ እውን
እቲ ሃፍቲ ተሰሪቑ ዝኒሄ ሃፍቲ ማ ክንምልሶ ኢና ንሓን
ድሓን
ህዝቢ ዓለም እቲ ጉድ ምስ ረአየ ክሕግዝ እዩ ንትግራይ ንሕና ባዕልና ተጋርም ኣለና ኢና ኤርትራውያን እውን እናመፁ ፈቆደ ሰላማዊ ሰልፍታት ኣየኹም ምሳኹም ኢና ይብሉ ኣለዉ ካሊእ ትረፍ ኣንቶ ዝበልኳ ናይ ኢሮሞ 10 ክንደይ እዩ መዓት ኣኒወይ እቲ ቁፅሪ ተሰሓይተ ዘይኮነ ኢንፎርሜሽን ከመሓላለፍ እምበር ብታሪክ እዮም ሰሪሖም ናይ ሎማዓንቲ እንት ማለት ኣብ መቐለ ሲ መፂኦም ካብ ሓረስቶት ካፍቲ ጠራቂሞም ገንዘብ እኽሊ ኣኪቦም መምፅኦም ናብ መቐለ ንሕና ናይ ባዕልና ዝጠቅሙ ነይውና እዮም ናይ ባዕልና ድኻታት ነይውና እዮም ናይ ባዕልና ስደተኛታት ነይውና እዮም ግን ካባና ዝበኣሰ ግን ብማይን ብጥሜትን ዝመውት ዘሎ ህዝቢ ትግራይ እዮም ሕማቅ ግዜ ዘሎ ሒዚ ኢሎም መፂኦም ክሕግዙ እንተለዉ እቶም ደደባ ተምሓሮ ኣበይ ኣለዉ እስቲ ኣብዚ ንባዕሎም ትቻት ዝፅሕፍዎ ዘለዉ ተትርኢ እኮ ሒዚ
መርዝ ብትግርኛ መርዝ ከመይ ኢኻ ትብሎ
መርዚ መርዚ ማሓይል እኮ እዩ ንሕናማ ነኦም መርዚ ኢና ሒዚ ኮይና ዘለና
እወ ግን ንሳቶም ንኢትዮጵያ ንከይትዕቢ ኣብ
ዘረግቲ እዮም ንሳቶም ዘረግቲ እዮም ንሳቶም
እወ ዋና ምክንያት እዛ ሃገር ትባታተን ዘላ እዚኣቶም እዮም
ልክዕ እኮ እንታይ ድየ ዘብለካ ንኹና ቶም ከይከይ እንታይ ይገብርዋ ኣለዉ ንኣሜሪካ ረእዮም ዶ ይዘርግዋ እኮ እዮም ዘለዉ ኣሜሪካ ንባዕላ ሒዚ እኮ ብሚሊተሪ ብፌደራል ፖሊስ ማኖ ብኤፍቢኣይ ሲኣይኤ በቃ ሒዚ እኮ ኣሜሪካ ሓያለት ኮይናቱ ዝኒሃ እኮ ብዞም ከይከይ ዝመፀ እኮ እዩ ብዙሕ ፃዕዳ ለባም እኒሄ እዩ ኣነ ግን ዝበለኹ ኣምሓሮ ንባዕሎም ለባማት የዋሃት ኣለዉ እዮም የለውን ኣይወልኩን ኣበይ ግን ንሳቶም ሒዚ ኣበይ ኣለዉ ኣብይ ኣሕመድ ብናይ ኢትዮጵያ ወታደር ኣይኮነ ንትግራይ ዝወግኣ ዘሎ ኢንተርናሽናል ውግእ እዩ ንኢትዮጵያ እዞም ኣምሓሮ እዚኦም ግን እዞም ኣእዱግ ኢትዮጵያውነት እናበሉ ታሪክ የኛ የዓድዋ ምናምን እናበሉ ዝፍክሩ ዓድዋ እኮ ትግራይ እኮ እዩ ዘሎ ዓዲ ኣምሓራ ኣይኮነን ዘሎ ናይ ኣክሱም ታሪክ ኣክሱማውያት ክብሉ ተሎ እኮ ኣክሱም ትመሬትናማ ሓፍ ኣቢሎም ክወስድዎ ስለዘይከኣሉ እዮም እምበር ኮሪእኻ ተዝከኣለሎም ነይሩ ንድሕሪት ኣይመወልን ነይሮም ስለዚሁ እቲ ሃገርና እቲ ናትና ንሕና ናትና ብቲ ባክግራውንድ ወፅኦ ንኹ ትግራይ ኢለ ናይ ትግራይ ካርታ እቲ ካርታ ይፍክርሉ ከምዚ ናትና ተኣሽም እናበሉ ነቲ ሰብ ግን ኣይደለይዎን ሕሰበ ድሞ እዚ ትክክለኛ ዘይምዃኑ ኤርትራውያን ካብ ዝኩሉ ተዋጊና ዝኩሉ ተዳሚና መሊሶም መፅኦም ኣሕዋትና ኢሎም እዮም
ናይ ታሪክ ናይ ትግራይ ተዘይሰረቀት ኢትዮጵያ ክትነብር ኣይትኽእልን ታሪክ ናይ ትግራይ የድለያ እዩ ኢትዮጵያ ክትነብር ክትቀፅል ትግራይ ናይ ትግራይ ታሪክ በቲ ሃይማኖት ኮይኑ በቲ ግዕዝ ቋንቋ እቲ ፊደላት ናይ ትግራይ ተጠቂማ ኢትዮጵያ ትነብራላ ትቀፅላላ ግን ትግራይ ተወፅያ ኢትዮጵያ ትፈርስ እያ
ኣበይ ፈሪሳ እኮ
ግን ኣነ እዚ ኩሉ ዓመታት እዚ ኩሉ ዝሓለፈ ዘመናት እንታዮም ዝመክሩ
እንታይ ዘግድሰና ግን ሒዚ ኢትዮጵያ ንብል መን ኢትዮጵያ ዝድሕር ሒዚ we don't care ወይ ኣሕዋትና ዓንቶ ከይደፍር ኢለ እየ እምበርኮ ዛዕባ ኢትዮጵያ ስመን ይድሕር ሒዚ ኣነ ኮ ኢትዮጵያ ይብለሉ ትሪኦ ኣለኻ እዚ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ እዩ ሰብ ድሕረይ ዝኒሄ ባንዴራ ኢትዮጵያ ዝብል ኣበይ ትርኢ ኣለኻ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ባንዴራ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ጨረተማ ሓዋ ኣትዩ ተቃፂሉ እዩ
ኣነ ንኢትዮጵያ ክሃንፁ እቲ
ኣነ ኢትዮጵያ ዝብል ኣይፈልጥን
ኣነ ካብ ቀደም ካብ ምኒልክ ጀሚሮም ንኢትዮጵያ ክሰርሕዋ
በቃ ኣነ ይብለካ ብሱር ታሪኮም ክዛረበ ይደሊ መንነቶም ክፈልጥ ኣይደሊ ኣነ ኢትዮጵያ ዝብል ድሕሪ ሒዚ ትግራዋይ በቃ ከም ፀማም እየ ክስኡ ኢሎ ታሽሙ እግኖር ክገብሮ ብሱሩ ክደፍሮ ክነቕዖ ዘይኮነ ግን ኢትዮጵያ ዝበሃል ኣይፈልጥን ኣነ ድሕሪ ሒዚ
እዚ ኩናት ከይተዓወጀ እንከሎ ብርግፅ ይፈልጥ ነይረ ንሕና ናይ ባዕልና ሃገር ክንሰርሕ ዝግበአና ቅድሚ 2 ዓመት እቲ ዓወት እቲ ቃልሲ ከይተዓወጀ እንከሎ እቶም ተጋሩ ካብ ኣምሓራ ዓዲ ክፍናቅሉ ከሎ ብመንግስቲ ዝገብሮ ምጥቃዕቲ ኣይኮነን እቲ ህዝቢ እዩ ምሽ ኣብ ዓዲ ኣምሓራ ዝነበሩ ተጋሩ ናቶም ንብረት ክቃፀል ከሎ ክቅተሉ ከሎ
علينا دو
አ
علينا نحنا برانا ستينا هاي علينا شامبين كفتنا نسوم جودة تلو نحنا تجارو احزين النمبر احزينهم النمبر نساتهم ريخ هايرن مخانا واشنطن دي سي زغورو
ورأيو جن انتاجرنا أنا
نحنا ما أقول لي سنايوم هو نحنا أقول لي سنايوم خنا أقول لي سام تلنا جن تعينا أنت لا نقدر ما قدام كنا خي سمنا
هو
سلازيو زيوم ما خلوا زغورو كم غيرهم خلوا كوريها موليس بعلو نايب على سجاز نكس كوي خلوا كوي
هو تعامل
ها
لذي الشعوب من شعوب بزح evidence نيرو كابزي إثيوبيا تبع الحجر كنبتق كم زلنا شو بزح مخنيات نيرو بزح إذا كونات كي تعوجن كله تفناقلهم نحنا عبزي تايسم زججت قرنا لنا جنزم أنتي كنوفي نابتي تفناقلو زنبرة حزبي السودان زخدة كاب السودان تملسنا تجراي زعتوه سئلهم عم قلة تعقيبهم نيرو جزاي نبرة كل تي نبرتهم زنبرة أبتي أب كل الأمهرة تقاتلوا نيرو قاتلوا ما تسرقوا تزرفوا نيرو بمنتهى مخنية تايس سلز قبريو إنها تي متقاتي تي بدل زوردة كمنجستي أمهرة أيقونة كابتي حزبي
أبدا لمنجستي حاجة أبدا لمنجستي
I know again تي منجستي مسرعية تي كل الأمهرة منجستي مسرعية تي بدل ولا حتى أيبلن ولا حتى أقاومن ولا حتى
هو يومكم هاي اللي كانوا أمحار ما سمع قال أخذك تلت أخذ جبر سوق كل حدا لو عدنا ببهلي كرملا تيكا قال عودي أو سوق زبل እዚኦም ከዓ ሒዝረኻ ንሱ ንእሽትለይ ስለ ዘኩሉ ሰም ዘሎ በቃ ምን ይመይውን እዮም ጽባሕ ንጎ ተመሊሶም ግን እንደዚህ ቢሆን ብናቅ ኑሮ እንደዚህ ዝማንልን ነበረ ምናምን አሉ ክዛረውና እዮም መቃጠርቲ እዮም በቃ ስለዚህ ንሕና ድሕሪ ኣምሓሩማ በቃ ታ ኢትዮጵያ ሃገር ኢትዮጵያ መን ይሕዛ ኢሎም ኣብዚ ጥያቄ ዘምፅኡ ሰባት እኒአውና ኢትዮጵያ መን እያ ኢሉ ሃገር ዝሕዛ ኣምሓሩ እዮም ዞም ኣሕዋተይ ኣረንጓዴ ብጫ ቀይና ታ ኮኸብ ዘይብላ ባንዴራ ዝሓዙ ሂስትሪ ዘይትፈልጡ ጥያቄ ተብሉ ዘለኹም جوجل غيركم رأيوا إثيوبيا بقى أنا إثيوبيا لومي أمحارة أيو عد أمحارة يرأيوا عد سواناتنا أيلهم خقالة سيام ثمر وما سيام أخستر قبلهم يوم ناي بنغلاديش ما نوزي بنغلاديش الزوم بيشانغول ناي جمز إنه بتا already تكامل اسمه زحتو السودان نوعلو مريت أيام عروتي ما متأخذ لزي وهذا ألفات بالوزنية نسنو على هذي السودان على أبناتي مريت تسرح إياه تبذل الله وشتي already إذا قل حافتي خندي تقرأي حافتي تتقوم الجنزب كان إيه نحن ده حيزي بجنزب بحافتي بجلسات ده حيزي ما ده زده خمنا أخلنا بك سلازي نحن ده حيز أي تجارو حاول تولي إذا الحيزي حاجرنا خنطفوا لنا حاول تولي إني هاجرنا أفزنا على مي لك أن استحواتنا ده فرار زلوا كم أتن كونجس لزي ولم كم أتن كونجس لزي ولديهم إن إيو زينو علما ناتنا حواتنا دك أنا سيما ورك سلز مسلا كوي خلي خي مسلاك زيهم خنفارات أدوغم حارجن زي روحوا مسيم دك أنا سيحواتنا يدفروا ون الله نزيهم ما فرديتهم نيجي اليوم نيو خمسي جرام نحواتنا يدفروا ون زلوا ما نم تقرأي أب تقرأي زلوا خلاشين تزيرحوا جوزو محيزو أكثر عريض صنيحو خسارن بجوزهم قرصهم يجيبوا لذلك أنا استيزدفر نقول عايز قتل نسب نارئ زحرد ما نسي كوين حيزي تقرأيكم أبغى أخفي ده قبل تصنع له انتهي كوين انتهي قبل يبقى ما نم وين نسي تقرأي لك أنا استيخونا لك تعطيه كفر له كوز له هك على سله زي كوي تاشمو لحريزي صلاح خمس سله سؤال كاس بها مسخة لمين كاز زن حاسس صلاح يكون مسؤولنا زله إنها تزاروا بقى بطعم مقيرنا نحنا يو درجة خمسة كا بزح أو إيران فلتن حصر بينا خنشور شو مسيونا لا يو after weekend كنا قربنا صباح حدا هونا نهيو كنا قروينا كاشاي حيزي مسيو كاب عادي
شيء
صباح نصام تقرب خنقص لنا زواج عزيو بتقرنيا بإنجليزيا نحاوسنا تحاونا ياو مسلم بتقرنيا أي خزارة وقالتها تيجي نزلوا أو جرنا جن بقى تزرعوا سقايا زبالة خاطر أنا نسخان وزي كوينا نلوزر لخانية بعين زرع حاونا نهيو سلازيو أودي كاتر لازم سيكون محواتنا يغني لنا صباح مشت أمسك نبغى جن صباح مشت كان ياو زخنا أخواتها بجيزة سلازلني مشت ساعة 10 بناي باسيفيك تايم كم ذا حي ساعات النهاية نجي مرينا 24 ساعة سلا نسرح قلقل يخم كاي يغني لنا مسيح يخم حوات دقص سلنا لهم ندقص له جزية سلا زي كونه حرينا تسينا زلنا تتحراني نخا نتراد أنا هزونا خنا بقى حوارثات خنا محلالف هزونا مورال كنهب أيهم ناتنا إلنا جگانو نهاتنا قام ميدا نتقالسو نايدقاس دخيبنا إنا خنا نصرصر أي قبأنا نيو أف ገንዘብ نحجزل جزية خنحجزل لنا إنا خداونتات نوعلو تجزؤو كاوي كم زجزاء نفرتكم ناي تجراي بانديرا زحازة ناي تيشيرتا زحازة زوم بانداتات نوعلم نتقم ميلهم الناس راح يشوطلنا تنقع عين جبر هيزكون ساكا نيو يوم كازر رامد هيزي نهافتم ميلهم ما تيشيرتات كوفياتات أنا زيادة هيزرو زيادة رياض لك عايزي أو بكا حين أميتي على نور كتاش معيا بدحيتها تقرأ يا ترى
يا تخل كاب تايشم كاب إنترنت مجزا عيد للحجي لومي سلكا أبتي كتما زلوا محابر كابو مجزا حش كاب تتفوتو
كما يا بكا كوميونيتي بكا ببي أمريكا مد كوميونيتي سلسلة هنا كوميونيتي زيولكم كان تليهم كونتاكت غورنا
تتفوتو وصل
تليهم بتويتر كل جزء اللي هو at مايك كاسا هوني ناتي تويتري إيميل تلوق تليهم كان تجراي أسرع حمشتن at gmail.com صحفوا لي وقع تجراي 2025 at gmail.com كونتاكت بقى كونتاكت تقول تقول يوم صقم يولن እዚህ ድማ ሳይበር ፓወር ትግራይ ከዓ ከም ድላይና በቃ እናወፃና ዜናታት ኣብ ዓለም ክነመሓላለፍ ኢና ሕዚ ግን ናብ ወግዒና መዲስናዮ ዘለና ደብረ ዳሞ ናይ ቤተክርስትያን ገዳም ዝኾነ ቦታ ናይ ሻዕብያ እና ናይ ኣብይ ኣሕመድ ኣምባገነናት ድማዕሮ ምድዳብ ጀሚሮም እዮም ካሊእ እውን ክንደይ ታሪክ ዘለዎ ቦታታት ብኣየር
እዚአን ክሕድሳ ይክእላየን ምስ እግዚአብሔር በዓሲ ክጀምሩ እንትደልዮም ሕልውናኦም የለን በቃ ጨራሽ ካብዚ ዓለም ክድምሰሱ ስለ ደልዮም ማለት እዩ ይሓትቱ ኣሎ ምስ እግዚአብሔር በዓሲ ክጀምሩ እንትደልዮም ግን እቲ ህዝቢ ደሞም ከም ዘይምለስ እሱ እቲ ዋና ክትቀትለት ግን እዚ ገዳማት እዚ ቤተክርስትያን ዝወቅዑ ዘሎ ክሕደስ ይኽእል እዩ ተመሊስና
ባይ ዘ ወይ
ክትፍዎ ኣይኽእሉን ግን
ናይ ኣብይ ኣሕመድና ናይ መንግስቲ ሃይለማርያም ልዩነቶም ናይ ኣብይ ማን ነው ናይ መንግስቲ ሃይለማርያም ቤተክርስትያንና መስጊድ ተንኪፎ ይፈልጥን ወታደር ብስሩም ናብ በተለይ ቤተክርስቲያን ቤተ መቅደስ አካባቢ ዝኾነ ነገር ደፊሮም ይፈልጡ ጠቅላላ ብሱስ ሕናስ ሒዚ ዝግበር ዘሎ ግን እዚ ታይ ዘርእየካ ኣብይ ኣሕመድ አንቶም ኢለካ ኩርኩር ናይ ኢሳያስ ኩርኩር ስለ ዝኾነ ኢሳያስ ዝበሎ በቃ ስማ ኢሳያስ ኮ ኣይ በቃ ደጊማ ከጥፉና እዮም ተጥፉና ንዓናይ ናብ ገደል ሓቢርና ንፅለፍ ተይድዎ ድንቂ ይብሎ ካብ ኢሳያስ ኣገበር በል ከደ ንስኻ ቀድመኒ እሞ ኣነ ክካተለካ እየኢሉ ኣነ ኩሉ ግዜ ስለ ዝመርሐካ ኣብዛ ገደል ግን ንስኻ ቀዲምካ ዝለል ድሕሪኻ ክዘሊ ኢሉ ከፅልፎ ይኽእል እዩ ከምዚ ዓይነት ስኢሉ ዓሻ ፀማም ዝኾነ መንግስቲ እዩ ንስን ባዕሉ ባይዘ ወይ ታሪክ ዘይፈልጥዎ ፖለቲካ ብዙሕ ዘይከታተሉ ተጋሩ ከመይ እዩ ኣብይ ኣሕመድ ፕራይም ሚኒስተር ኮይኑ ዕድል ኮይኑ ወረ ፕራይም ሚኒስተር ክኸውን ባይ ዘ ወይ እቲ መርገሳ ፕራይም ሚኒስተር ክኾን ዝግብኦ ነበረ መብዛሕቶም ስለ ጠርጠርዎ ሕማቕ ከይብለና ኢሎም ንኡ ኣብይ ኣሕመድ ግን ናይ ኢትዮጵያ ወታደር ስለ ዝነበረ ገለታት ስለ ዝነበረ ምሶም ስለ ሰርሕ ነበረ ግን እንታይ እዮም ገይሮም ተሎ ኢሉ ነቲ ናይ ኦሮሚያ ሪጅን ቸርመን ገይሮሞ ማለት እዩ ናይ ሪጅንካ ቸር እንድሕር ዘይኮንካ ናብ ፕራይም ሚኒስተር ናሚኔሽን ይገብሩኻን እዮም ብኡ ኢሉ ብዘይኮነ ብሱል ብትክክለኛ ሕጋዊ ዘይኮነ ካብቲ መጀመርቱ ድማ ኮነ ኢሉ ወፅዩ ሕዚ ከ እንታይ ተመሊሱ ኣሎ ርኢኻዮም ኣብ ዓለምስ ኣነ ክልተ ሸይጣን እንኳን ክበሃል ሰሚዐ ኣይፈልጥን ሕዚ ግን እንታይ ኮይኑ ኣሎ አብይ አሕመድ ኢሳያስ አፈወርቂ ክልተ ጋኔናት መፅኦም ትግራይ ከጥፍኡ ንህዝቢ ትግራይ ይወርሱ ንብረቱን ሃፍትን ኣለዉ ነቲ ድኻ የሳዕይዎ ኣለዉ ነቲ ህዝብና ይጎድእዎ ኣለዉ ንወታደር ናይ ትግራይ ግን እንታይነቱ ሎሚ የሽኖም እዩ ዘሎ ትማሊ ከዓ ነየ ኣብ ኣዲስ ኣበባ ኣብቲ 4 ኪሎ ከባቢ 4-6 ቦምቢ ተተኪሱ እዩ ትማሊ ኢዛ አብይ አሕመድ ንባዕሉ
ፈንጂ ተተኪሱ ነይሩ
هو حيز انت عايز يا كذا له لا خايو 17 ዓመት ሰላም ሒዞም ተቀመጡ ህዝቢ ረዩ እንታይ ምርኸዮም ነው ሒዞ አዲስ አበባ ዝኒ ህዝቢ ንባዕሉ ክልተ ሰለስተ ብላክ ክትንቀሳቀስ ተቀኒኻ ተፍትሽ ዘይብሉ ወታደር ዘይብሉ ልክ ናይ ደርጊ ግዜ ተመሊሱ መፅኡ ረይዎ ባዕሎም ግን ብሓደ ወገን ከዓ ኣምሓሩ የቕኒየና ብጣዕሚ የቕኒየና ዝሰራሕዎ መስራሕ ንተጋሩ እንኳ ናይ ሓቅነት መንነትና ብሓደ ኮይና ሓቢርና ከም ንሰርሕ ብሓደ ተጋሩ ከም ዘይንትንከፍ ክንትስእ እንኳ ገበርኩምና
መገዲ ከፊቶምላ
በቃ እዚኣ እያ ሓደ ሕብረታዊ ተጋሩ ዝገበርኩሞም እዚኣ እያ
ንዝክር ዝግበና ክንሕዞ ዝግበና እቲ ህዝብና ትራዋይ ተኾንካ እቲ ህዝብኻ ይመወት ኣሎ ኣብ ዘይድልዮ ውግኢ ኣትዩ ደም ዝኸፍሎ ዘሎ ትርጉም ዘይብሉ እዩ ኣብ ናይ ማቱ ዓዲ ይመወት ኣሎ ኣዴታት ደቃ ኣበይ ከም ዝመወታ ዘሎ ኣይፈልጣን ስለዚ ትራዋይ ተኾንካ ብዛዕባ ህዝብኻ ክትሓስብ ኣለካ ትግራዋይ ኮይንካ እውን እቲ ህዝብኻ ድምፂ የብሉን እቲ ቴሌፎን ኩሉ ተዓፅዩ ዘሎ እቲ ሰራዊትካ ጎቦ ናብ ጎቦ ዘሊሉ ክሕልዎ እቲ ዓዲ ይስራሕ ኣሎ ስለዚ ንሕና ናብዚ መድረክ ክንወፅእ ከለና ወይ ኣብዚ ዝኾነ ሓበሬታ ክንረክብ ከለና ተበጊስና ክንወፍር ከለና እዚ ክንሓስብ ኣለና እዚ ትቀልል ካብ ኣብ ዓዲ ዝካየድ ዘሎ ስለዚ ክንደክም ኣይግበአናን ንሳቶም በረት ዓልዒሎም ይቃልሱ ኣሎ ንሕና ናብዚ መድረክ ወፂና ተሓቢርና ክንሰምዕ ዜና ክንበርህ ክንክእል ኣለና ድኻም ክሽንፈና ይኽእልን
በቃ ኣዮና ዓወትና ናትና እዩ ግዴታ እዩ ጥያቄ የብሉን እና ኣብ ዓለም ዘለኹም ተጋሩ ሒዝም በቃ አንተም ኢለ ነረየ ሒዝም ተኾነ በቃ ኣማን ብኣማን እዚ ዓወት ናትና ከም ዝኾነ ኣብ ልብና ሒዝናዮ ኢና ትግራይ ትዕወት ምዃና ድማ ድሕሪ ጥያቄ የለን ትግራይ እንታይ ኣትከውን ፅባሕ ንጎ ድማ ጥያቄ እዚ ትግራዋይ ኮይንካ ክትጥይቕ የብልካን ኢኻ ትግራዋይ ትኮን ክትጥይቕ በቃ ትግራይ እንታይ ኣትከውን ማለት ድማ እዚ በቃ ኣነ ኩሉ ነገር ተስማዕሚና ተራእይና ኣለና ኢና ኢትዮጵያ ክትንክፍ ተለካ ግን ኣነ ካብ ኩርሰይ ተሲ ዝመፀኒ ዘሎ ምሳኻ ከበኣስ ኣይኮነን ድሕሪ ሕዚ ድሕና ኣነ ኢትዮጵያ ዝበሃል ኣይፈልጥን በቃ ወሲነ እየ ጨርሽለይ በቃ ካልበይ ወፂለ እዩ ኣነ ህዝቢ ኣምሓራ ጉድኡ ህዝቢ ኣምሓራ ኣጥቅዑ ኢለ ኣይዛረብን እየ ፀገም ሕማቅ ዝሰርሕዎ እቶም ሕማቅ ዝሰርሑ ባዕሎም ይፈረደሎም ብኣላህ በልካኒ ብእግዚኣብሔር በልካኒ ያው ኣነ ኩሉ ሰብ ዘኽብር ተመሲሉ ይስማዕኒ ብናተይ ያው ክርስቲያን ኮነ ተወሊደ ኣስላማት ዕርክቶ የለውን እዮም ኣብ ሱዳን ተቐሚጠ እየ ኣስላማት ናይ ሱዳን ክንደይ ፅቡቅ ነገር ሰሪሖምለይ ዝፈልጦ ነገር ቁርኣን ተይቀረ እንታይ ምዃኑ ንእሽተይ ተማሂረ ርእዮ ኣንቢበ እየ ስለዚሁ መንነተይ ግን ዝፈልጥ ትግራዋይ ኳዕ ካብ ትግራይ ተወለድኩ ኢለ ዝኮርዐሉ እዚ ትግራይ መፅይዎ ዝኒሄ ፀገም ሂዚ ሓቢርና ብሓደ ከም ንፈትሖ ዘጥይቕ ዘጠራጥር ነገር የለን ኣብይ ኣሕመድ ግን መሽረፈት ኣሕመድ ናይ ኣዲስ ኣበባ ከይድካ ትነብር ኢኻ ናይ ኣዲስ ኣበባ ወይዘር ኣብ መዓልቲ 3-4 ግዜ ይዝቃየር أبي أحمد يقول قالون ملحسن كم إيو حيز قل ملحسي زنكس زلو أما الحاسس نخسر لي وأنا كان أي نحنا ندحري تاني بلنا إذا تقرأي بقديتا تيفتو تم زموتو ميتم تم زي موتو هاديمم تقرأي ناس أنها تخم توص فلتي ندحري تاني بلنا ني زيو تياك أولن هنا anyway أوتات نسخام حد نجار حسابات أقرب عطاصوه بقى صبو صوتاينا صبو وقعنا زلنا نيشتي درفم أما تشرشوا خنا درفلهم مسانا بقى خمسة جرام زكاة نازل حواتون يقنيلنا وزحنا قرنا تزاريبنا تلبام زبالة حركة نعو أيوهم نعونا وانا ناي بحق نعو بقى مساهم قربت كوينا مساهم حوات كوينا خنا برنا تولم حارتون اللي هنا بحكي نعو بقى حيزيات هتصقم نازلنا أتصقم جزيجن علنا أين أقولنكم لكم تأمنوا محارو نعوسو نعو
والله Chinese you don't have to be Tigrawi Amhara نزي قتلت نزي سيت أنتي أسرارها نكتقاومو سب مخوانكا تراهيتي مسفرتي سب مخوانكا تراه بلتا طعمتي درفي فتلنا عيرس أكن عدي كفت
عرس استي حانت مسي الله سي
عينت
هو ناي طرطرا ونيرا
يا الله تهاني فتا
انتايدا خوين عادينا لما انت تاشم خويننا له
تالكا
ناي عاديتا صقم تكنيكال صقم مسينا لتا خوينا
نعيدها تبزلها
لا ناي عليهم بس something ناي
مو أنا خفته كسر دي
صبو
اسكي كمبيوتر خفيته يا كنقصل له هنا
قديتا ايو
دخام يلنا بزي سراح دخام زبحال توم سراويت
ها
رخا
كافتا عادينس مطيقو لهم بقى لطفو طياقهم خنملس كنمكورينا بعقمنا ايهم قلقليهم كاخذ لطفو نحاسوكم دقاقنكم صويل بارة لطفو لهم إن دحرايزن إحنا حدا توصلكم زخوركم بعنا تليهم كا توزي تعرم لكم نقولنا أم حارم بلنا زلوا إحنا بقى دحرايزي ياو دقاقي منا نقول لنا هنا نوعو تقالعو توصل بقى تنسه هيزي دحراي مسخهم جن خمزي خيتولنا بقى هيزي هذا لا تاجز تعدلكم تقرأي ناس أمسو دحراي ما تليت تكونيهم إذا ناس أمس كوني مسخهم كم صاركم لا ترجم يولدن حق إن زلكم قلنا عيزي
goes
by the way بدي أسمع لا أسمع ها
لا take خفيته الله if you can listen if you can hear this let me know
زمانة هو
صموداتا بيتكي كتري بعيني
مسخ تقراي
صموداتا بيتكي كتري بعيني صحيح الكادو
سمع لا ها بس غلا رجل يستاي
تلقى
دمس وسغلاني استمر
اي قال النساية متعرسة
افغير كان هيز ما زباسه
off get it pause get it
That's good. شير مغور كنا رجين حدا تعشمو شير جورة نقص كوبي رايت جلس لازلو كويو
تلقى
هاي كوبي رايت بنعمل سلازة بولنا ينبر شير مغور كنا رجين تي يوتيوب شير جورة انت هاي بلما إن تدمت سويلا خلاص ما لخلي ناتي شير مغور يوم تعش منا جورنا
أنا بكلم كويس يتكلم على هو الكمبيوتر
هو ده رجل بلا درفع
Hey!
تيشيرت ريا يا ما شير جورنا يا
إتي تصحف كم ببالك
ايش
حرنتن حونتن أيفالينا
فالبقى سنة لي حنتي
كابو أبتي English زبطة unity and brotherhood forever
فرنسي أنا حنتها فرنسي يعني
ها
فرنسي اسمع كلام
وجن عواي كونن اسمع له بدنبي عبد الرز ولا عشم
عطتن قرآن حسن بذا سنون غيثو تيتكزا حرين غدا فلا تسكدا عبنا واي
أيها بنانا
حرين غدا فلا تسكدا عبنا واي ارحم ويانا
ترى هاي أرحى ويانا
عبد البيت زولا عشمعة سلام كنت سلالي عفتن فرضوان حسن بيزا سنونة بيزو تيتكزا حرين غدا فلا تسكدا
أبيك برتاوي قلسي تفلدو
حرين غدا فلا تسكدا
تارجاني
برتاوي قلسي زجمرو عدي تفلطو دهو نايرترا
أنت عايزه
تي برتاوي قلسي تلو أب منتاي عدي أبي عدي
نايم ناير ترى
دبيتينا جمرنا يومش
ها
عبد دبيت برتاوي قلسي زجمرنا يو بوتايو بو يزفلت مش دبيت
أو يا
نايتراويان دما أكوردات بحالي أكوردات شعو يوم برتاوي قلسي عويجون أكوردات زبال زينا تاريكي
عيني رونا عريسنا جبنا عبد وليا شبيحيا عبد برتابور زوا علينا عبد يا ابو عيد يومو عبد شبنا عريس سبنا اي تحبب ويانا يولد عبد البيت زولا عشمعة سلام كنت سلالي عفتن فرضوان حسن بيزا سنونة بيزو تيتكزا حرين غدا سلام غدا أبنا واي أرحاوي أنا حرين غدا سلام غدا أبنا واي أرحاوي أنا عيني رونا عريسنا جبنا عبد وليا سلحيا عبد برتابور ثم علينا عبد يا ابو عيد عبد سبنا
كلهم
أشتي
ويانا
ولا اسمع كهالي እንደገና
دبلغة
እንደገና አሪና ሰረ ትግራውነት
ንዕወት ዋና ትግራውነት
እዚያ ሰማይ ካነ ካሮ ሂጂያ በቃ እዚያ ነው ደግሞ ተባበቃ ታህር ሕደርኩ ለም ተከታተልትና ያው እዚያ ናይ ሂዚ ተጋረንቲ ሞራላት ዝህብ ናይ ትግራይ ቴሌቪዥን ተመሓላለፈ እዩ ትግራይና ኤርትራ ብሓደ ኮይኑ አዲስ ሙዚቃታት ዝሰርሕዎ ያው ህብረታዊ ናይ ህዝብና ዘርኢ እዩ All right. Thank you so much. I will see you back here tomorrow, late night. we're gonna have a late show, 10 p.m.
Okay.
Pacific time. That would be 1 a.m. Eastern time. We're gonna post it. We're gonna have a special guest that just arrived from Tigray. So for those of you who tuned in for over 3 hours tonight, I've never done a show over like this long, but we did.
It's the energy, man.
The energy with
job.
Tagaru. That's what we're known for. Technically, it's about hour and 45 minutes in Tigrinya, and then an hour and 45 minutes in English, which we started with English. But all of you who are followed in here tonight, thank you so much. I was emotional earlier. I love my brother Mengestab. I love our brother, our brothers who, taught us like to be good citizen, respect and love everyone. So when we speak emotionally, we are deeply hurt inside, but we're not going to use negativity to attack you, our Amhara brothers and sisters. If you believe in justice and human rights, rise up. Come on. If you want to come on the show and have a discussion, let me know. Tigray2025@gmail.com. That's how you can get a hold of me. That's how we can bring in this show. We can have a respectful discussion with you. If you can prove me wrong, I would love for you to come on the show and talk. So I was, again, very emotional. I was saying I'm done with Ethiopia. It doesn't mean nothing. Nothing is impossible. We can heal, but show me now.
No,
Don't wait to talk to me.
We're done. That's over. That's
Right?
a wrap. Yeah, that's a wrap.
Thank you. So I'm gonna I'm gonna have you have the last word.
ክንቅፅልና በቃ it's not over. We're gonna keep going. It's not over. ትግራይ ትዕወት ትግራይ ትስዕር. Ciao. All right, brother.